Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic!
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Don't give up on us, baby. Don't make the wrong seem right. The future isn't just one night. It's written in the moonlight, painted on the stars. We can't change ours. Don't give up on us, baby. We're still worth one more try. I know we put a last one by.
And good Thursday morning to you. This April the 16th, taking you back to 1977.
Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor, crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to Kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
With that song from David Soul 49 years ago. Does the name David Soul mean anything to you other than from his number 1 hit that you just heard, Don't Give Up on Us? It went to number 1 on this day in 1977 on the U.S. singles chart. Also,
Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor, crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to Kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Number one in the UK. And it was David Soul's only number one hit in the US. But David Soul, I think anyway, beyond that number one hit, the only number one for him, was better known as one half of the TV cop show Starsky and
Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. Quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Whether you're craving that coffee taste to kickstart your morning ritual, or as a nutrient-packed reward to round out your afternoon, Kachava keeps you fueled and satisfied wherever your day takes you. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. And for the times you feel like switching it up, you've got 7 flavors to choose from, all with the highest quality ingredients. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to Kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Hutch. David Soul was Hutch. Paul Michael Glazer was Starsky. And David Soul, I guess, moonlighted a little bit, acting and singing. And he took Don't Give Up on Us to number one on this day in 1977. So there you have that. And I was trying to think of other actors, TV actors, who also sang. I think Rick Springfield kind of went the other way, right? Because Rick Springfield was on General Hospital, but I think he was already putting out music. I don't know. And did Rick Springfield put out a lot of music? I'm not so sure about that either. Jesse's Girl, of course, is the big one that comes to mind. I didn't follow Rick Springfield's career a whole heck of a lot, but I know he was on General Hospital at one point, as was Wayne Gretzky. And so we'll just leave that right there. Stream of consciousness for this point in the show at least ends at this moment. I do have to ask my good friend Devin, who is running the board back in Kitchener, to just readjust the camera he's got set on our call screen. Because, there we go. Because I saw the color that indicated somebody was there, but I couldn't see the name. No, you were doing better before. Dev, don't move it back. Yeah. Perfect. You see how that works? We're live switching, we would call that, here on the show. He's got it set perfectly now, so I can see names. I can see the important clock. Why is the camera moving? I can't see. Okay, now you're good. Don't breathe, Dev. Do not breathe back at the boardwalk, okay? Everything is now perfectly aligned. I can see the clock. I can see the call screen. I can see the names on it. And as you know, the minute we begin the show, every day, our phone lines are open to you. Even when I'm on the road, as I am right now, up in the Sioux, 519 570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Let's go to the phones because Doug, of course, my new co-host, is there. Listen, Doug, before you start, can I ask a favor? Doug? Doug? That's perfect. Doug is not there. And what I'm going to do, the favor I was going to ask, because Doug is a very regular caller at the beginning of the show, which I love. I'm here for it. But Doug's phone is not the best. And I think it just proved my point. Yesterday, Doug was here. He was talking about the roundabout at Fisher Hallman and Huron Road. I love hearing from Doug. I love hearing from any of you who wish to be a part of the show. We are the most interactive radio program anywhere in the region. But maybe we need to get Doug a new phone so that we can all hear him more clearly when he does make those calls. Tim is with us as well early this Thursday morning, so let's hear from Tim also. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning. I'm, of course, ready for the Rangers game tonight.
Boy.
As much as I'd like a sweep, I'd like to see them tomorrow night, too. So I don't know, maybe do it at home. But, a sweep would be great. Having said that, I want to help you. David Soul. You wanted another actor who also sang. Well,
don't say David Hasselhoff.
No, David
okay.
Soul and this other actor were in a TV show together called Hide. And you'll notice that the
wait. It was called what? Tim, you cut out too. It was what was the show called?
It was Here Comes the Brides.
Here Comes the Brides. Okay.
Yeah, and it was it had a theme song sang by the bluest skies you've ever seen in Seattle. You know, that's Bobby Sherman. He also sang, of course, his most famous hit. Bobby Sherman. Anyway, somebody else will know that. But David Soul was on Here Comes the Bride with Bobby Sherman. So there you go.
Okay, so wait, though. So Bobby Sherman was an acting singer, because I know Bobby Sherman as a singer, but David Soul was a singing actor. You see what I'm getting at here, Tim?
Yeah, but you see, both of them acted, including Bobby Sherman, in Here Comes the Brides before Starsky and Hutch. So you see, Bobby Sherman was acting, but then he sang. He sang the theme to the show, Here Comes the Brides. It was called The Bluest Skies You've Ever Seen in Seattle. But he had that other, it's just escaping me right now, but I'm sure somebody's going to help us with that. Bobby Sherman, his big hit. He was a teenage heartthrob with this song, and, everybody knew him. But they were on TV together in Here Comes the Brides, and they both were ending up singing as well. There you go.
I got you. Okay, Tim. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. Looking at some of Bobby Sherman's tunes. Julie, Do You Love Me? Easy Come, Easy Go. Cried Like a Baby. The Drum. None of that. Cried Like a Baby sounds a little familiar. But see, this is the thing. Bobby Sherman, I think, was known more as a singer who also obviously acted in Here Comes the Brides with David Soul. David Soul, again, it could just be my naivete, but I knew David Soul as one half of Starsky and Hutch. You see, better known as an actor, but he also had a song. That's kind of what I was going for, but I love how deep, we're doing deep cuts now on singing actors and acting singers. It's fantastic. And we have Doug back on the phone with us. Doug, I got to ask you a favor. Can you do me, Doug, you got to do me a favor.
Yeah.
Okay? Ask Patty for a new phone. Doug, you need a new phone. Come on with you're coming on.
I've got a Pixel 10 as it is. I think the problem isn't the phone, it's my earpiece, my hands-free device. So,
well, then get a new hands-free device, Doug. I want you to be a part of this show. See, we can't even converse. We're listen to us. Oh my goodness.
Well,
okay.
The other part is I think I need to pull over instead of driving when we talk. Sometimes I can do that and sometimes I can't. But I pulled over this time because I wanted to make sure the signal was steady. So
you sound pretty good right now.
The Bobby Sherman.
Okay, and now Doug, you know what, Doug? I got to let you go. It's terrible. And Doug wants to share some musical knowledge with us, and we're going to have a bad cell connection. I don't know what, I do know what it is, because Doug drives out in the sticks, right? And when Doug is out in the sticks, you're not getting great reception out there. Couple of things just before we get to our Farwell Show 5, thing number, these are not part of the 5 things. It's like you're getting 7 things, but these are just 2 little tidbits one I came across this morning, and one I wanted to remind you of, because on this day, April the 16th, back in, are you ready for it? 1936, 90 years ago today, a man by the name of Donald Cameron was born, Summerside, PEI. That's right. The one and only voice of your Kitchener Rangers. More than 4,000 games called, over 55 years in the broadcast booth. Don Cameron, born on this day in 1936. We, of course, lost Don in 2018, June the 7th to be exact, which coincidentally was the day that Doug Ford was elected premier of the province of Ontario. But we lost Don back in 2018. He would have been 90 years young today. And there's a really interesting connection that I'll share later in the show between Don Cameron and the playoff series that we are currently in the midst of. But that's for later. Something else I wanted to let you know about, and maybe you could think of this as a warning of sorts. It is April the 16th, what would have been Don Cameron's 90th birthday. A couple of weeks away from the beginning of the month of May. When May rolls around in the city of Cambridge, election hopefuls, someone wishing to win a seat in the upcoming municipal election, is going to be able to post their sign on a property near you in May. The election's not until October, for crying out loud. So what we really need is a summer full of election signs around the streets of the city of Cambridge. Now, I continue to support the idea that these signs do not go on public property. So you can't just have a sign war where you litter the streets of public roadways with the signs to get the most visibility. You have to earn them. This is earned media. You have to get those signs by knocking on a door and somebody saying, hey, yes, you can put your sign on my lawn. But Cambridge didn't really have much choice but to do this when they voted unanimously to allow it at their recent meeting, because there was a ruling last year in Russell, Ontario. And the court ruling said, we are actually inhibiting one's freedom of expression by putting time limits around when election signs can be posted. Listen, far be it from me to argue with the courts, but can we get an appeal on this? I mean, I'm here for freedom of expression. I certainly am, but just in the interests of, good taste, aesthetic appeal, isn't it fair to have some sort of restriction around when the signs can start being posted? I don't know. May seems a little bit early for an October election. How about September? Like, why do we need a 5-month lead time? Doesn't it just kind of become wallpaper after a certain amount of time? Freedom of expression, absolutely. But I can't help but think there's got to be room for some restriction on the length of time one can have the sign posted. But brace yourself. And I want you to vote in the municipal election. I want you to know about the municipal election. I want all of these things for you. I just think a 5-month window of opportunity to post one's signs might be a little bit much, but that's just me. And you know how I feel about election signs. Not my favorite things at all. All right. Those are a couple of things I wanted to make you aware of today. Don Cameron's birthday and the election signs that you might start seeing in a couple of weeks in Cambridge. Let's get to your other 5 things for this Thursday morning.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
All right, starting, of course, at number 1. And the cost of policing Waterloo's illegal St. Paddy's Day party this year was up about 3%, coming in at more than $320,000. That's compared to about $309,000 last year. In the past 5 years, the annual street party has cost taxpayers, that's us, it's cost us more than $1.4 million. Police Chief Mark Kroll and Police Board Chair Ian McLean say it's time to bring forward new ideas to end the party. Hello, is this thing on? Hey, Chief Kroll. Hey, Board Chair McLean. Change reading week. I loved Bill Doucette's article in this morning's Waterloo Region Record that said, and I quote, one resident suggested the idea of changing reading week. Hey, Bill, listen, I know you're old school, buddy, and I know competing media and all of that, right? Newsprint versus radio. But come on with your coming on. I write for the damn newspaper too, you know. You could have just thrown one of our colleagues. I think we're all one big happy media family in town. I'm not shy about that. I used to be as old school. I am old school, but I've evolved in this regard. There used to be, I could go into like the radio wars we used to talk about, and this station versus that station, and we used to have a policy a long time ago on this radio station that you never even mentioned the newspaper's name. That's how it was church and state, right? Now I look at it in a shrinking media environment. We're all in this together. I'm just giving Bill a hard time. I love the guy, but I thought it was kind of funny. The article says one resident suggested, that resident was me. Change reading week, you end the party, in my opinion. Number 2, on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, we are getting another GO train. No, I mean this. I would not pull your leg. It's not April the 1st. It's April the 16th. And gosh darn it, how about another GO train starting on April the 27th? So less than 2 weeks from now. A second GO train will travel from Union Station in Toronto to the Kitchener GO station on weekday mornings. So the train's going to leave Toronto at 8:49 and get here in Kitchener at 10:26 in the morning. As well, a new eastbound afternoon trip is going to be added as of April the 27th. That one will leave Kitchener at 3:43 and arrive in Toronto at 5:17. Frankly, I don't know what the hell any of that does for you. Like, you're coming out of Toronto at 8:49 to get here for 10:26. You're leaving Kitchener at 3:43 to get to Toronto at 5:17. I guess that might not be bad if you're going down for a sporting event or some event in Toronto. I don't know how you get back. I don't know what the later train is. Look, we should have, I can't understand why in 2026 we do not have trains on the half hour running between Kitchener and Toronto. Like, why we don't have that blows my mind. But hey, we're getting a second one. Good for us. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Wilmot Council will be getting a raise in its next term. The current council voted this week to increase the councillor's salary by about 15% to just over $25,000 a year. The salary for the mayor of Wilmot, meantime, will increase by 27%, going from just over $39,000 to just over $50,000. Number 4, organizers and supporters of the annual Let's Body Check Cancer charity hockey tournament didn't just meet their fundraising mark, they smashed it. The tournament was held at the Cambridge Sports Park over the weekend and raised $270,000 for research initiatives through the Canadian Cancer Society. The donations also pushed the tournament past its road to 1 million goal. Over the previous 9 tournaments, $965,000 had been raised, bringing the new total to $1.24 million in 10 years. Way to go. Let's body check cancer. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, an annual institution returns for a 59th year. The CFUW annual used book sale starts tomorrow, continues through Saturday at First United Church in Waterloo. Used books, audiobooks, CDs, DVDs, sheet music, and puzzles will all be available tomorrow from 9 until 9, and then on Saturday from 9 until 1. Last year's sale raised $33,000. The proceeds go to CFUW's charitable fund, which supports scholarships and bursaries for local women and girls. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Hey, thanks to Kim for the email to Mike at 570news.com. One of my favorite country singers was Bo on the Dukes of Hazzard. Yes, John Schneider, another actor who also sang. And then Suzanne says, don't forget Don Johnson from Miami Vice. He also had a few singing hits. There you go. Sue, Kim, way to go. And Donna knew Bobby Sherman's 2 hits, Easy Come or Easy Go, and Julie, Do You Love Me? You are just full of knowledge, and I'm glad that you share it with me here on the show. Last night was a big night in the world of hockey, and I wonder how you feel about this career coming to an end. I want to play a little bit of Joe Bowen's final audio from a Toronto Maple Leafs broadcast for you. And then I'm curious, like, do you feel bad for this guy after 40 plus years of calling games for a team that never won a championship? Or are you one of those that's thinking, hey, pal, you should have just gone to a winning team? Here's how it sounded as Joe Bowen signed off a Maple Leafs broadcast last night for the final time.
There we have it. 44 years, 3,834 games, and it comes to an end for me. And I'm going to have to read this again as I did the other night because I know I can't do this off the cuff. But it has been and always will be my dream job as voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. There have been 17 coaches and now 13 general managers who have guided the ship over these many seasons, along with 700 or so players who have pulled on the blue and white jerseys. My first Leaf goal came second period in Chicago Stadium on October 6, 1982. Walt Podubny started a 3-goal comeback for a 3-3 tie. My last goal here tonight, third period, William Nylander's 30th goal of the season. I want to thank my family, my wonderful sons, Liam, Derek, Sean, and David. Working nights and travel meant I was away a lot and missed so many important activities in your lives. I love all of you so much, and I am so very, very proud of all of you as young men, husbands, and fathers. One person so far I have not talked about. I want to conclude my remarks by thanking my broadcast partner for the past 28 years, Jim Ralph. Not sure what to say about this man. Each night I come to a game to watch it with a great friend. He's been like sitting at a bar with your buddy commentating on the game while telling stories and laughing. Always laughing. So many nights we would finish and someone would comment on the broadcast. But it wasn't about this great call or Holy Mackinac, that piece of brilliant analysis. It was always, you guys had me howling over that line in the second period. I can't thank you enough for a wonderful friendship, buddy. I love you. I don't have anything else.
That is an emotional Joe Bowen last night as he signed off the Toronto Maple Leafs broadcast for the last time. How do you feel about the guy that called more than 3,000 games over 40 plus years for a team that never won? My heart goes out to him. But what a beauty. There will never be another. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio. Just ahead of your 9:30 update in the 570 News Center, let's get to the phones. Mike is with us this morning. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mikey. Yeah, he was pretty emotional, Mikey. And
oh, man, that's something, eh?
It is. And remember, Mikey, all the calls that me and you would talk about, how he was freaking out, in the playoff games, that he, how emotional how excited he would get. Nobody else could call a game like he can for the Leafs. And it is too bad that they never won the Cup for him. But maybe, we win the Cup. Next time we win the Cup, we'll be able to bring him back for a game or something. But there's nobody else like him, Mikey. And me and you always would talk about Joe, how he would freak out and stuff. But he'll be missed, Mikey. But, he was classic, wasn't he, Mike?
He sure was, Mike. Great to hear from you today. Thanks for the call.
Go Rangers, Mikey.
God, I love it, buddy. Go Rangers. We're going to have a Rangers game day preview this morning at 11:30. Get you all stoked for tonight's game. Let's quickly go to Dennis before our news update. Dennis, I got about 30 seconds, but would love to hear from you about Joe Bowen.
Quick story, secondhand. I have a couple of good buddies that from Sudbury, and for some reason they went to University of Windsor. And what would happen on Saturday night is they would turn down the NHL game, and Joe would call, Foster Hewitt would be turned off, and Joe would call the game. And Joe said, my goal in life is to be the Leaf announcer.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. His banner hangs up in Sudbury when we go to the Sudbury Arena to play the Wolves.
Right. Well, guys want to be a doctor or this or that. Joe wanted to be something that was pretty rare, wasn't it?
Amen to that. Dennis, great to hear from you. Thanks for the call. And with that, we'll get to the 570 News Center for our update. Thanks also to Michelle and Andrea. Jack Wagner, another acting singer. So there you go. We should have, you know what? It's going to be an All Request Friday theme coming up. Not tomorrow. I'm not going to be there tomorrow. I've got a travel day. But how about that? Some acting singers. Jack Wagner. What a stud. All right. An update from the 570 News Center. And then let's talk about getting graded on your attendance in high school. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single? Do or Die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series. Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
As I suspect you have heard by now, Ontario Education Minister Paul Calandra says his conversations with teachers have led him to bring forward a new policy for high schools in this province. That policy being your grades being attached to your attendance. Chronic absenteeism is a growing problem. So in Ontario, 15% of your grade will be attached to just showing up. Paul Bennett is the director and lead researcher with Schoolhouse Consulting and a leading Canadian education analyst. He joins us to talk more about it. Paul, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. It's great to be back on your show.
It's great to have you back on the show. I always love having a resource like this we can call upon when things like this come up. And I wonder what you make of the idea of attaching 15% of a high schooler's grade to their attendance.
We have to go back and unpack this. Why is it even being discussed? It's because of the astronomical rates of absenteeism. In grade 12, 66.6% of the students are now chronically absent. They miss 16 or more days of the year. In grade 11, it's 61.3% of the students. And even in grade 9, the data shows that 54.3% of the students are chronically absent. So you have a problem, which is the growth and radical growth in absenteeism, and you have a solution that's on the table. I'll get to the solution in a minute, but keep in mind, I've been tracking this since 2010. Do you realize that the rate used to be 20%? It's triple what it was 15 years ago. In 2018, the average in grade 12 was 40%. That's before the pandemic. So we've had a 20 to 25% increase in the rate of chronic absenteeism. I went back and preparing for this interview, and I thought, well, how can I introduce this? There was a report in Nova Scotia in 2015 on attendance, and it was simply titled, Be There. That's the problem. The students aren't there. The teachers are constantly having to redo work. They're covering less and less. The standards have slipped, and they don't bother attending in June because there are no final exams.
So those
That's
standards,
what's going on.
right?
So,
and when you talk about those standards slipping because of this chronic absenteeism, we're not even delivering the amount of curriculum perhaps we used to.
Oh no, far from it. Teachers are consolidating what they teach. They're offering less and less. Summative assessment is what final exams are. That is supposed to be assessing you for the whole year. They've even given that up. They now only assess part of the year through projects and things like that. Now, there's something else going on, though, Mike. AI has dramatically affected student assessment. You cannot use the vast majority of former forms of assessment, such as such as, I would say, term essays, written assignments. They're all using ChatGPT. So forms of written assessment are kind of obsolete. So the government, I think, is wise in bringing back exams because they have to do something. There are no other reliable ways of assessing students other than time-limited, teacher-supervised forms of assessment. That is exams.
Does attaching a grade to attendance, is that something that could improve attendance in class? Is that going to solve this problem?
I would suggest it's a solution that is way ahead of its time. It's going to take some time to implement that policy. Let's hope the government decides to take a prudent approach in introducing this. They need to look at how difficult this is going to be to implement. It needs to be implemented, but how you get there is the issue. So, people want a black and white statement. Are you in favor of that or not? Well, that's not really the answer. It's, if given the problem, how would it work? And I have some ideas. I think it should be phased in over 3 to 5 years. Took us 5 years to get where we are. I think we should take it in smaller steps. And I believe that there should be some allowances in the first few years while students are getting used to the idea that it is no longer acceptable to be out of school that much. This is a huge shock. Their brothers and sisters will tell them, high school was a breeze. We look at what we did. We had other jobs. We could work part-time and no one bothered to even check. And since the pandemic, no one was checking attendance during that 2-year period. No one checked attendance. Then all of a sudden they start reintroducing attendance checks. And we've got a thing which is, we've got kids now that are just partly in school and partly out of school. Here's another thing. A lot of the analysts will tell you that using marks as a deterrent won't work. Well, that was because the problem wasn't what it is today. When you have 20% of the kids away, you can use other methods to try to get them back in class, in their seats. But now the situation is so far beyond what's acceptable. You have to use that tool along with others. For example, the kids are voting with their feet. They're saying it's not as important to be in class because we're given 2 or 3 chances to redo things. It's not really counting towards our assessments. And teachers give so many different alternatives that you can easily get out of attending there every day. And their parents are part of it, too, because parents are inclined to take kids out of school in December and in June to get an early chance at the holidays in March. So the parents are part of this, too. There needs to be more accountability at all levels of the school system.
You mentioned earlier, Paul, for how long you've been tracking this data. What are the implications beyond the classroom when somebody graduates high school with really poor attendance, assuming they do graduate? What are the implications beyond just academics?
I can tell you this. Most university professors and college instructors are cheering this decision because they are dealing day to day with the legacy of what we're turning out in our high schools. So I think you don't hear from them. You only hear about trustees complaining about having their roles slightly reduced or maybe eliminated. You don't hear about those who are trying to teach them in colleges and universities and say, well, they don't know the basics. We have to reteach everything. So there's a bigger issue here. You're right. Absenteeism has been normalized. That is the problem. How do you get out of it? It's taken 5 or 6 years to get into this huge hole. I think it's going to take at least that long to get out of it. I wrote a piece for the Globe and Mail where I explained how long it took to make going to school compulsory in Canada, in each province. It took about 15 or 20 years to get the idea accepted by parents and by students that they were expected to be in school and being there was something that was required. I was arguing 2 or 3 years ago, we could be facing a situation where people no longer assume that they're expected to be there because it's gotten to the point where you can take as much time off and there are few, if any, consequences.
Paul, always great to get your perspective. Thanks again for making time for the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Mike.
Paul Bennett joining us, the director and lead researcher with Schoolhouse Consulting. It really resonated with me when Paul talked about parents playing a role in this as well, taking their kids out of school in December or June to get an early start on summer holidays or Christmas break. I remember when we were kids and some of my classmates, had those privileges, I guess I would call them. I was kind of jealous, the Friday before March break, or maybe a couple of days, or maybe they take the whole week and make it a 2-week March break, or the earlier leave at Christmas time, etc., because their families would travel. And we never, ever, and I remember it was a thing because I'd be like, well, why do my friends get to leave school? Like, why don't we take our vacation early or whatever? And maybe it comes from being raised in a household where my father was an educator and education mattered. We took no extra days off. Yes, you were sick sometimes, for sure. I remember our trips to the dentist. I've shared this with you before. All 5 kids, Mom would put us together and take us to the dentist's office. And I had the option usually then of sticking around all morning for all 5 kids to go through the dentist's office and kind of get a half day off school before Mom could take us to school. Or as I got older, I could get through my dentist appointment and then hike to school myself to be there for class, because attendance mattered. And what an interesting point brought forward by Paul, talking about how long it took to make education compulsory. I remember watching TV shows as a kid where truant officers were a thing, right? Chasing kids through town, kind of like Vice Principal Rooney did in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mentioned at the end of the show yesterday that we were going to be talking about this today, and Dave sent me an email to Mike at 570news.com. Dave is a Farwell's Force member, by the way, in good standing, number 362. But he said, Mike, I'm not sure where my work will take me tomorrow, so I thought I'd give my 2 cents regarding the 15% mark for attendance in high school. I am totally in favor, and I would advocate for an even higher percentage. As an employer that hires apprentices, I can tell you that many high school grads do not have a work ethic. They think it's like high school and they show up when they feel like it. As an employee, you are part of a team. And when a piece of the team is missing, the team does not produce. Attendance needs to be taught early, and there is a penalty for not attending. Also, being on time. As we say, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. That's Dave's perspective on attaching a grade to attendance. What do you think? With absenteeism now a chronic problem in our high schools, is it time to attach a part of a student's grade to their attendance in class? We'll take your calls right after this. It's the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio.
The kids are voting with their feet. It's not really counting towards our assessments, and teachers give so many different alternatives that you can easily get out of attending there every day. And their parents are part of it too, because parents are inclined to take kids out of school in December and in June. So the parents are part of this too. Everyone, there needs to be more accountability at all levels of the school system.
That is Paul Bennett. He is a leading education analyst in Canada and the director and lead researcher with Schoolhouse Consulting. He joins us to talk about a 15% grade attached to one's attendance in high school, because the numbers don't lie, as we often say, right? Liars never figure and figures never lie, things like that. Absenteeism is chronic. We have ourselves a problem. And look, I, for one, am 100% in support of this. I know I've heard a lot of commentary since this announcement was made by Ontario's Education Minister, Paul Calandra. And yes, there are other issues that need to be solved within our education system. I get that. I've heard the calls for more funding. I've heard the calls for smaller class sizes. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I think about this on the continuum of education and what we are asking of our schools, if we get into the before and after school programs that are offered by way of essentially daycare, that sort of thing, while parents are working as hard as they're working, from the time they are 3 or 4 years old until the time they are 18 years old, give or take 17, 18 years old, we are asking our school system to essentially parent our kids, teach them life skills. Showing up on time and showing up regularly is a life skill that will carry over into one's professional life. And if we don't establish the importance of that early, I think we can all see what the road ahead looks like. Again, I get that the world has changed. I used to be really jealous when our tech sector really started taking off and we had all kinds of interesting stories from our community about the kinds of work environments that many people had. You kind of show up on flex hours, show up when you want, dress code, meh, slides in the workplace, fully stocked cafeterias, all these other things, little pods to nap in or do work in. Like, I get all of that. But you still have to show up on the regular basis, whatever those hours are that you choose, whatever perks you get at your workplace, you still got to show up and get the job done. And if you're not expected to do that in high school, how then are you learning that essential skill for when you start a job? And employers get stuck. Dave shared his email, or I shared Dave's email earlier. He sent me the email yesterday at the end of the show, talking about what he's running into in his line of work. Because when one team member is gone, the entire team suffers. And so that business loses productivity and the employer gets stuck. We often hear how much more difficult it is to rehire and retrain. Do you just keep kicking these people out because they can't show up? Showing up is half the battle. I think this reinforces that. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Let's go to the phones. Ian is with us. Good morning, Ian.
Hey, Mike. I find it interesting from yesterday's conversation about the cell phone use and me bringing up the fact that they're wasting so much of their lives in front of this. But I am also going to give you the perspective of someone who did teach at college and university for 10 plus years and went through the COVID kids. Man, that was interesting when we finally got back into class and seeing, the kids coming out of high school into college and university and really not having much of a clue about discipline. And the one thing that really bothered me with the college especially is I wanted to put in exams for my classes. And I was constantly, no, we don't need to do that. You can do it through the assignments and everything. And, when I did teach at Niagara College, we did have an exam. And the beautiful thing about the midterm exam is it really showed which students were actually getting this and which ones were not. And the ones who didn't get it, when we reviewed the stuff, they came out shining at the end. But the fact that we have like a 60% plus lack of attendance, you know what? You know how you learn to play piano? You practice, you show up. And, I apply that sort of logic to everything. And honestly, the parents, we can blame them to a point, but the parents are struggling just to try and make ends meet with our society and the crazy cost of living we've got now. I'm worried about the future in terms of where these kids are at. And for that matter, what are we going to see as we go down the road? You and I end up in, retirement homes and that. And what's the service going to be like? Are these kids going to get this? It's a real concern. And one last quick point. When you see the house is slightly on fire, you probably should make mention of it. Now we're full on fire and we're trying to deal with it. And, it's kind of pathetic that we've let it get to this point. Thanks, Mike.
All right, Ian, thank you. Appreciate the call. And I tend to be of like mind here. Do we see smoke coming from the back of the house? Is there a problem that needs to be addressed? Look, to me, this is an essential life skill that one then can begin to practice in high school, right? Showing up is half the battle, but there is an expectation. I understand, that the pendulum, I feel like the pendulum has continued to swing. There was a time where the 40-hour work week was not a thing, right? Where people were working at very young ages for incredibly long hours, and the organized labor victory, if you will, of the 40-hour work week was an incredibly important victory. And now in many cases, it's a 35 to 40-hour work week before overtime starts coming into play, et cetera. But there seems to me to be this further swinging of that pendulum that suggests, what do you mean 35 to 40 hours a week? That's my time. I get to do with my time what I want. I think there should be some sort of expectation of a decent level of productivity in one's community, of labor, to make that community a better place through the business that you are helping to build or helping to be sustainable, and earning your money that you spend back in the community, et cetera. Showing up, doing the job. I don't know. I would love it. I think we all would love just to have carefree days every day, like summer holidays when you're not in school. But it doesn't work that way. And I think if we start to reinforce the expectation of showing up for things, we are far better off. As Dave said, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio. Well, you know what they say, right? The only thing constant is change. And it sounds as though change is coming to the region of Waterloo and other regional municipalities in the province of Ontario, thanks to new provincial legislation called the Better Regional Governance Act of 2026. Doug Craig is a regional councillor who represents Cambridge. He's got some concerns with this legislation and joins us this morning to talk about them. Doug, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Mike.
You say that this legislation, the Better Regional Governance Act, makes it evident that local government is no longer local. Why do you say that?
Well, because what we're seeing now is the appointment of a regional chair, as an example, from the province that will be sitting in the regional chair's office. You're seeing strong chair's powers being installed in that office in terms of the ability of the new designated chair to overrule council, set budgets, and essentially give direction to the regional community that may not be in alignment with what people want.
What if that appointed chair were someone from our community as opposed to outside the community? Would that allay any of your concerns?
Well, no, from the point of view that I don't believe in strong mayor powers, and I certainly don't believe in the strong chair powers that are now coming in. I think we have had a system in the region of Waterloo for decades of collaboration and working together. We may not agree with each other. We may disagree on a number of important issues. The point is that it has always worked, and the public has always had a choice on what the direction of this region is going to be. This takes that all away.
What concerns do you have with strong mayor or strong chair powers?
Well, you have the strong mayor powers, they're both aligned essentially. And what they do is they allow the regional chair to set a budget, and he only needs 1/3 of council to support it to get it through. And it may not be a budget that I like or other members of council like. We may want more ambulances in the townships. We may want GO Train to Cambridge. We may want more support for food banks. And the regional chair may disagree with that, and it puts us in the position of not being able to fulfill the needs of the community.
What would the impact be, Doug, of having a regional chair who is appointed as opposed to elected?
What's the impact? The impact is it's the erosion of democracy. I mean, it simply is a situation where the public has been put in on the back burner in terms of the importance of their issues. I think that the regional chair elected is certainly is reflective and sympathetic to the people of the region of Waterloo. And I think that's entirely very important.
And if the position is an appointed position, where do you see their loyalties lying?
Well, their loyalties are obviously with the province, okay? And the regional chair, who's appointed, also has the power to fire and hire senior staff at the region. That staff will be loyal to him or her, not to the citizens of this community or the regional councillors who are put in place to overguard what's going on in terms of everything that's happening at a regional level.
What other evidence have you seen, Doug, that this provincial government is centralizing power or decision-making at Queen's Park?
Well, if you look at the strong chair powers, okay, that's the first thing. The second thing you're looking at is a reduction, the MZOs that the province put in, the ministry zoning orders. You have the Ontario Special Economic Zone Act, where they're reshaping the airport in Toronto with no public consultation. You have a limitation now being put on by the province for freedom of information, which I think is crucial in terms of the public understanding what's going on behind closed doors. You have just recently, we just heard that they're reducing trustees, school board trustees, and having an impact on the school boards in terms of limiting their powers and ability to function and be responsive to public needs. These are all examples that are taking place.
In fairness, Doug, and
I'm always fair. Go ahead.
I know you are. Look, you and I, and we've had many a good conversation over the years. So,
all right, Mike.
Okay, so here we go. On the transparency issue and freedom of information and the difficulty, I don't disagree. But how many NDAs have we had regionally, particularly around the Wilmot Land Assembly? We just recently had one around the working group that is trying to solve our water crisis. NDA, and this is with elected representatives. And then the water problem in and of itself. Look, that's a massive issue that our region elected has kind of messed up. Why shouldn't we give somebody from Toronto the power? Maybe they can do a better job.
Well, I don't think they can from Toronto. You have to look at Toronto in terms of their, what's the worst run government in Ontario? It's the Ontario government. They can't balance a budget, and they're going to send someone down here or appoint someone down here to balance budgets and do all those sorts of things that they promise. It's really a conflict of opinions on this. Okay, Mike?
I think folks around here would like tax increases that aren't 10% or more in the region.
Well, I totally agree with you. And there are a number of us on council, including myself, who have not supported those increases. But that's the collaboration of a representative democratic government. Okay? I believe in that. And I'm going to strongly support that kind of concept.
Is there any room for change here, Doug, the way we govern this community? You and I have always disagreed on a one-tier system, but maybe this is trying to nudge us in that direction. Is there room for that change?
Well, there certainly is, and that's what's happening. You put in a regional chair appointed by the provincial government, and recognize and reflect on the past that it is that provincial government that has brought amalgamations in Hamilton, Toronto, and Ottawa. And I see that as the next sort of tipping point for this region, and I'm very concerned about that.
You wouldn't support that then if it happened?
Oh, of course not. No, we don't.
No.
I mean, this is amalgamations. I mean, let's look at the crown jewel of the argument, which is Toronto, which is a basket case since it's been amalgamated financially and how it operates.
Are we really, in some senses, seeing the end of municipalities here? I know we have more than 440 across the entire province, but Queen's Park's sure doing an awful lot on behalf of cities.
Well, I would agree with you to some extent that we're seeing this erosion taking place, and I think it's very troubling and very concerning. I mean, local government is local, and it talks to people. And, as a regional councillor, as a city councillor, as a mayor, I would meet people on the streets in Zares, across, my community all the time. And you would hear from people locally. You get somebody appointed by the province. I mean, their loyalty is not to the people in Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, or the townships. It's to Queen's Park. And quite frankly, I don't like a number of things that are happening there.
I can certainly understand why you wouldn't. Is there any recourse here, Doug, as a regional councillor? I know this legislation is past second reading, if I'm not mistaken, but
right.
What do we have recourse?
Well, I think it's very limited. I mean, we can always look at the legal issues of it, and that's not going to take us anywhere. I think what we need is to, and why not, Mike, ask our local MPPs to support a referendum in this region. Do you wish to have an appointed chair from the province of Ontario? Make it a referendum. Let the public decide whether they want an elected or they wanted an appointed chair. I think that's very straightforward. That would be democratic. That would be responsible. But I'll tell you right now, they won't support it at Queen's Park, having that referendum.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Thanks for being fair and always open to the conversation. Appreciate it.
Well, there's more to come, Mike, and thank you very much, okay?
Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Doug Craig, regional councillor representing Cambridge, former mayor of the city of Cambridge. More to come. I'm here for it, Councillor Craig. Let's go. And look, I know I was being a little bit of the devil's advocate here because, as I've made clear, I am in alignment with Doug Craig on the issue of an appointed regional chair. That flies directly in the face of democracy. So I'm with him there. There is another part of me, though, that looks around lately. And I don't think we can sit here in the region and say we are as transparent as we could be when it comes to government. And I'll just keep this focused on the region right now. And I'll reference again those NDAs that existed. These are decisions that are being made on our behalf by people that we hired essentially through our votes. I don't think there has been nearly enough public information flowing from our regional government in recent years. I think it has lacked in transparency. I have long advocated for a one-tier local government. And there have been many people far more intelligent and far more influential than I who have advocated for some kind of reform here to get us to a different system of local governance. And it was rebuffed at every turn. If we had taken it upon ourselves decades ago to do something as opposed to doing nothing because we wanted to protect all of our little individual political areas, then we wouldn't have somebody stepping in to do something for us. As anti-democratic as I believe an appointed chair to be, I think we are in some ways the authors of our own misfortune. And I would say the same thing about school board trustees. Doug Craig alluded to the changes that may be coming there. If we had done the job better ourselves, if we had focused on student achievement and success instead of fighting one another through, all kinds of internal legal battles for crying out loud, and that's both public and Catholic board in our region, then I just don't know that we have a really strong leg to stand on when we try to say, well, you shouldn't do it because we're doing it all right. Actually, we're not. We're not doing a great job of late in a number of areas, I don't believe. Let's go to the phones before our commercial timeout. Barbara is with us this morning. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, Mike. With all respect to Doug Craig, who, of course, is a fabulous politician, I'm coming at this from a very different angle. I'm coming at it from the staff level, the technical level, and as a resident. And a grave concern that I have is that I never, and I mean never, Mike, hear politicians talk about what's best for the residents. That never comes up in all my years. What's best for the residents is not even on the radar screen, and that really, really bothers me. And not to blow my own horn, but I've been talking about all the stuff we could do, downspout disconnection, whatever. That is best for the residents, and it would save money for the residents. But municipalities won't even entertain it, and that just baffles me. it would be my observation that the average politician, and certainly that's true of many politicians in the region, is most interested in getting reelected. What's best for the residents is neither here nor there. And I don't know if you're aware, but in the city of Kitchener, our sewer rates have gone up 7 or 8% per year for the last, sorry, I didn't look this up, but I check it every year or whatever. It's now $4 a meter cube for sewage treatment, for sewage collection or whatever at the city of Kitchener. How could it possibly go up 7% per year? Like inflation's I don't know what it is, Mike, 1.5, something like that. What is going on? Adding conditional houses is throwing a little more sewage in there. Well, sometimes way more sewage than it should into our sewers, but that shouldn't affect the cost of running these sewers. And yet, again and again, not again, residents don't even come into the equation. So I'm really concerned that politicians are about politicians and getting reelected and not about the residents. And I was going to say something else about that. And just because a regional chair could be appointed from here, it doesn't have to be appointed from Toronto. And the other problem with this two-tier system is that everybody is entrenched in keeping their job. So how do you get a mayor who's been a mayor for a while and really wants to, he's got power and he wants to stay there, to agree, it would be best for the region to amalgamate, or a regional chair similarly. Amalgamation would mean a number of people would have to give up power, and people who have power, especially if they've had it for a while, don't want to give that up. So I don't agree that. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Barbara. Good to hear from you today. That's been the problem in us getting to some sort of single tier governance over the decades. You got the power. You don't want to give up the power. And so we get stuck. And here we are still being stuck. And I want to disagree vehemently that those who we have elected are doing things in our best interest instead of their own. But that's difficult for me right now, simply based on what we just saw in Ottawa, right? How many floor crossings? And did they do that for themselves, or did they do that for the people that voted them in? It's a tough time right now. It really is. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is that time of day. I'm a little bit behind, but I'll get to the story today about not everybody is a jackwagon. And I wonder, this is one of those things where I want to know, what would you do if this happened to you? You'll find out what our non-jackwagon today did. Stay with us on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. It is that time of the day where we take a moment and remind you that not everybody is a jackwagon. And this story in particular catches my attention because I think it's one of those stories where we could ask ourselves, what would I do if this happened to me? So let me tell you about Jaden Cintron. The what would you do question is this. What would you do if you found $10,000 in cash while cleaning the washroom at your fast food job? You're at your fast food job. It's your Mick job. You're cleaning the washroom and you find $10,000 in cash. Jaden Cintron, who's a Chick-fil-A employee in North Carolina, did not hesitate. He turned the money in to the HR department. But wait, there is even more to this story. When the money was returned to its owner, they offered Jaden a reward, but he refused. It was only after repeated attempts that he finally accepted a $500 reward. In Jaden Cintron's own words, I quote, "I was in the right place at the right time. But more than that, my faith teaches me to do what's right and to care for others. Knowing how devastating it would be to lose something like that, I just wanted to make sure it got back to its owner. I'm grateful I could help, and I'm humbled by the response." Jaden Cintron of North Carolina certainly qualifies as somebody who is not a jackwagon. $10,000. I have so many questions. One of which is, what are you doing carrying $10,000 in cash with you anywhere? I mean, if I was carrying that kind of cash, I would go directly to the bank. I would not be stopping at Chick-fil-A on my way there. The envelopes, by the way, there were 2 envelopes with about $5,000 in each, and they were labeled with bank names on them. So obviously intended for deposits. But what are you like? I would carry that money in a way that I could not possibly let it out of my possession. I don't know what it was like in your household, but my mother always referred to those mittens with the string around them. Yeah, I think the string go around your neck so you couldn't lose your mittens. She called them idiot mitts. Is that okay to say? That's what my mom called them back in the day. I would have like idiot envelopes so that I could not possibly have that envelope fall out of my hand or in any way leave my own possession. And if I've got 10,000 cash, baby, I am going straight to the bank, the nearest bank, as fast as I possibly can. Good thing for people in the world like Jaden Cintron, who absolutely are not jackwagons. It is a Thursday morning, and you know what that means. Living Retired on the Radio is coming up. Plus, the KW Titans are off to the Basketball Super League Finals. They're going for the championship. Conversations are coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio.
Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka, ooga, ooga. I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's all right. I'm hooked on a feeling.
You know what occurs to me? It is an intro like no other intro on this show, and it signals the start of another edition of Living Retired on the Radio. We're not Ooga Chaka in here. We are talking to Gary Chaka. Talk Chalk. It's Chalk Talk. Wow, we could do Chalk Talk. Gary Chalk is the author of a humor column called Living Retired. You can find it online at livingretired.press. And while you're there, livingretired.press, sign up to have the column delivered every week into your inbox like I do. You'll get a chuckle when you read it for sure. And also, you can get in touch with Gary there, and Gary would be happy to come and speak at your corporate event or your service club or whatever it happens to be, because as you hear every Thursday morning on this show, Gary has a style that is all his own. So livingretired.press to find the column online and get it delivered to your inbox. Living Retired on the Radio here every Thursday morning just after the 10:30 news and that unique intro to the segment as Gary Chalk joins us from the Living Retired head offices. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Mike with a mic. How are you in the Sioux?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's good. You know, I didn't know this, but apparently they're the Sioux Greyhounds. I think they've been one of the longest-standing members of the OHL. But even long before the National Hockey League came into existence in, I think it's 1917, the Sioux had a professional hockey team in the International Professional Hockey League. Did you know that?
I didn't know all of that rich history, Gary. Well done, sir.
Well, I tell you, they were called the Canadian Sioux. The Canadian Sioux. In fact, they were sponsored by the wrongful dismissal lawyers of the Sioux. Anyways, hey, I want you to sort of close your eyes and just picture this in your mind, okay?
Okay, I got it. I'm closed. Yep.
Okay, when you no, stay awake, Mike.
Oh, Gary, you see, I'm on the road. You better be, and I'm in my hotel room. Come on.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. You're in your car. You sit in the car. You start the engine. Do you reach forward right away and turn the volume of your radio down just as you're putting the car in reverse? Do you do that?
I usually turn the volume of my radio up. because I feel like, why was I listening to it so quietly yesterday?
Well, apparently, this is a thing. Many drivers, before they change gears into reverse, they turn the radio volume down because when you can't hear, it makes you a better driver, I guess. But according to the researchers, this quirky habit demonstrates, quote, how our brains process information when we're under pressure. Mike, if you're under pressure, inching at a snail's pace for 30 feet out of your garage, you better get some more meds. You got something else on your mind. That's all I can say.
All I worry about is the neighbor's cat being hunched up under my back wheels, Gary.
Full disclosure, before I talk about driving backwards and what it says about us, I need to back up and tell what happens when Jan and I get in the car. I drive. In my car, I drive. That's the man's guy. So we get in the car, and as soon as I start the engine, immediately Jan will reach, and she'll shout, and she'll say, Gary, turn the radio down. Mike, I'm still in park. I haven't even got the reverse. And then she'll reach forward and turn the volume down. By the time we reach the end of our cul-de-sac, we play a game. It's called Up and Down. I'll turn the radio up, Jan, she'll turn it down. When I think she isn't looking, I'll stick my hand over there, and I'll turn the volume of the radio back up. It's something about a man's DNA. You know, we want the volume on the car radio up, just like we want the toilet seat up. There's something in our makeup that makes us do this stuff. And
I've always wondered about that rule, Gary. Yeah. Up, down with that toilet seat. Why is it our responsibility to put it down all the time?
Well,
why don't other people have to leave it up for us?
Yeah, that's it. Nobody thinks of us.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly,
the researchers, they wrote that turning the volume on your car radio down before you back up, it's a sign that you, quote, selective with your attention, which they say means you filter out distractions. Now, I'm not saying I would manipulate the volume on my radio to filter out Jan, but then again, who am I to argue against science?
Science tells you the truth, Gary. Never lies.
It always does. They also say it's a cognitive trait when you turn the thing down on the radio, the volume. It's a mark of self-awareness, meaning that your brain needs fewer inputs so you can perform optimally. So, you know, if you're driving along, you can just say, sorry, dear, practicing safe driving. It's going back to that science. Another trait, they said, of people who turn the radio down when they drive is they're making a clear choice. Now, picture this in your mind, people making a clear choice. You're at the stoplight. The car beside you rumbles up. It's got its radio blaring. The music is thumping so loud, your hubcaps on your car are vibrating, and people living retired, their pacemaker automatically, through some app, calls 911. You can't hear yourself. And the drivers with their car radio blaring, their clear choice, what they're saying, they can't hear the siren of the police car behind them who's trying to pull them over because he's got an expired license sticker. Something's wrong with this, Mike.
Well, but you can plead ignorance then when the officer gets there. I'm sorry, officer. I didn't hear those sirens. My music was too loud.
Exactly. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Hey, Mike, speaking of driving, when you got your driver's license, did you take driving lessons?
I certainly did.
You did?
Yeah, you bet I did.
Was it mandatory then?
No, but I was told that if I did it, I would have lower insurance rates, and I was all about saving some money.
Yeah, well, apparently the lessons, they do help, I guess, when you get to the road test of your license procedure. This is a true story, Mike. I did not have official lessons. My dad took me out to the parking lot of Walmart on Sunday night at 9, and I drove around that thing and sort of pretended I was coming to intersections. But back when I did my road test, this was it wasn't even the Kardashian era. I think it was the Brady Bunch era. But the guy sat beside in the passenger seat, and he turned the visor down to sort of hide himself somehow. And he would instruct me what to do. Okay, Gary, I want you to do this. And I was doing all fine. And then he said, Gary, I want you to turn left at the next intersection, which I did. It was a couple of blocks up. There was no stop signs, no traffic lights or anything. And he said, I want you to turn left, which I did. Then I heard him say, okay, Gary, that was a good turn, but you need to get over in the right-hand lane. This isn't a one-way street. You're in the wrong lane, and there's a car coming right at us. And I still passed.
Gary, I want to talk to that instructor, please. Can we go back and retroactively take away your driver's license?
Yeah. Oh, boy, I'll tell you, you could do that. These days, I'm convinced at driver's ed, well, they teach you, all the rules of the road, who goes first to the four-way stop or whatever. And then they also teach you how to make a safe lane change. You're speeding along at 140K on the Conestoga there. And if you complete that advanced driver's ed course, they'll also instruct you to how to make a safe lane change driving 140K on the Conestoga while you're texting with your arm out giving the finger at the guy beside you. It's all part of the advanced course.
Absolutely. You want to be sure you're ready for everything on the road, and that's important
right.
stuff.
And as you say, then you'll get a rebate or a cheaper insurance rate because of it.
Absolutely.
The living retired drivers, when they reach their 80th birthday, they have to go back and have another road test, apparently. And
Indeed, they do.
Apparently what they do is drivers who, when they reach their 80th, they say, never, never, under any circumstances, do I intend on backing up. They only park in a spot if they can drive out of the spot before backing up. Do you know any people like that?
Oh, my gosh. I'm one of them, Gary. I'm always looking for the drive-through spot every chance I get.
Yeah. It's just amazing how people are just continually, I'll drive around forever. There's the spot. I will not parallel park, but I will park where I can instantly pull out. But, of course, nowadays, I don't know why they do it because, well, when I started driving, we didn't have a backup camera. We actually, believe this, we had to turn and put my right arm over on the passenger seat with the gear in reverse, and I had to twist my head around to see where I was going. Well, now
Gary, now you're just making up stories. Come on, that never happened.
Well, put it this way: with the backup driver, the camera now, what it allows you to do is you don't even have to brush the snow off your window because it just starts backing up. Who cares? And it's so much better because the cars are equipped with this backup camera. Not only do you don't need to remove the snow, but you just look forward at the little monitor on your dashboard, and there's a bunch of green bars. And as you're backing up, they become yellow bars until eventually they become red bars, and that's when you slam your foot on the brakes, and all that snow in the back window instantly comes up over onto the front window. And to get that off, you just turn your wipers on. That's all you do.
It's perfect. You figured out how to clean off your car.
That's it. Exactly. It's all about you and putting the least effort into it. Here's another technology feature in our cars today. Help us drive back better. It's the side view mirror I'm sure it's on your car. The side view mirror on the passenger side. There's an inscription there, and it says, "Objects in mirror are closer than you think." Have you got that on yours?
Absolutely.
Yep. Mike, what on earth does a message in your outside rear view mirror on the passenger side, how does it help you when you're driving 120K, a big honking transport truck appears in, and the mirror, it says, "Objects in mirror are closer than you think." Drivers, we don't think. We're texting. What's that message do for you? It's useless technology. So what I do, Mike, when I'm driving, when I look over Jan's window over there, that outside mirror, and I see that big 18-wheel transport truck coming along, and it says, "Objects in mirror are closer than you think," I just look out my driver's side window because it doesn't say that there, so I just assume they're not close.
That's perfect. That's the way to get around the message, Gary.
That's right. It's the way we need to think. So if you think of all the cameras, the mirrors in our cars these days, there's the backup camera. I have a forward-facing camera out the front. I got a friend, his car has a camera that when he makes a right-hand turn, this camera comes on and it shows him how close he is as he clunks over the curb and makes his right turn. And then inside the car, we got the rear view mirror over top the dash, up on the windshield that the driver looks at. We got the rear view mirror on the driver's side, so we can see what's coming up behind. We got the rear view mirror over outside the passenger seat, so the driver can see what's coming off in case they're interested. But Mike, the most important mirror in the entire vehicle, it's on the passenger side. It's the one your wife opens to check her makeup. And
absolutely.
Ours has two settings: Jan can look at it and she can see what her lipstick looks like in a daylight setting or in an evening setting.
Gary, it's the most important piece of equipment in your car.
That's what it's all about. You got to have safe makeup.
Absolutely. Always love these chats, my friend. Thanks for being here this morning.
And go Rangers, go.
Go Rangers, go. Gary Chalk joins us Thursday mornings for Living Retired on the radio. You can find him online, livingretired.press. While you're there, sign up for the column, have it delivered right into your inbox, and get in touch with Gary. He'll bring that unique style to your corporate event, your service club, whatever it happens to be. If you need a guest speaker, Gary Chalk is your man with Living Retired on the radio Thursday mornings here on our show. Go Rangers, says Gary. We'll have a Rangers game day, playoff game day preview coming up at 11:30. But right after this, they're not just in the playoffs, they're in the Super League final. We'll check in with our KW Titans next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. We, of course, are here in Sault Ste. Marie with our Kitchener Rangers as they take on the Greyhounds. Game 4 in their Round 2 playoff series is tonight. But they're beyond Round 2 in the Basketball Super League. They are into the finals. Our KW Titans will take on the Sudbury 5 for the Basketball Super League Championship. And the co-owner of the team, David Schooley, is on the phone with us this morning. David, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having us on again today.
Always a pleasure. Us means Coach Cliff is here as well. Cliff Clinkscale is the head coach of your KW Titans. Coach Cliff, good morning.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having us again. Appreciate it.
Always good to talk to you, my man. Always good to talk to you. You had to go on the road and get the wins over Windsor to move on to this final. How did you get that done on the road?
Togetherness, toughness, and having some grit. All season long, we was the best road team in the league. So I'm familiar with our guys winning on the road, so we know we could take care of business and close out there.
David, what does it mean to you to be in this position to possibly bring a basketball championship home to Kitchener?
So, you know what? This is going to be a special year, Mike, for us because we want a threefer, right? We want Rangers are going to take care of business tonight. Titans are going to take care of business tonight. And then the Panthers, our lineup is amazing this year. So I'd like to see all three championships in KW this year.
I like that. I like where you're coming from. And the threefer is a nice idea. Now, Coach Cliff, it's not going to be easy because you guys are going up against the defending champs, the Sudbury 5. What does it take to beat these guys?
Paying attention to details, staying disciplined, and staying just making sure we keeping our cool and staying together. Like you said, these guys are the defending champs. They have some championship DNA, but I think our guys is ready for the challenge. And all we could do is take it one game at a time and try to take care of home court advantage. And that starts tonight in the first 3 minutes, setting the tone in the series.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to ask about it. Game 1 is tonight at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. What does the home crowd mean to the KW Titans, Coach Cliff?
That's big time. Long we on the court, giving it our all, playing hard. We give these supporting fans something to cheer for. We need them to be loud. I hope everybody come out and support. Game time tonight at 7 p.m. at the Art. We in the finals. I need the whole city to be live, supportive, and happy where we at right now, but just come in here and make a lot of noise.
David, I know this was the mission since this season started. How does it feel to be here in this moment?
You know what? I'm comfortable, honestly. We never get comfortable on the court, but Cliff has put together a team this year that, the record speaks for itself. Strongest team on the road, winning record at home, right? 19 wins, 7 losses. Like that's an incredible team that he's built. And our team is deep. We're playing 12 guys. and I think that's the difference, and hopefully that Cliff talks about it all the time, that the last 4 minutes of the game is where they're won and lost.
Coach Cliff, you were here a couple of years ago when you took on the London Lightning in the final. What do you take away from that experience that you can draw on in this final against Sudbury?
You just try to learn from everything. You evaluate yourself as a coach and the coaching staff, and ask yourself, did you coach the guys up in the best way you can and put them in the right position to win? I think the other time we didn't have enough experience to beat that team who has a lot of championship DNA, and they was the big dogs of this league. So I think this year we got the right set of guys, some young guys, some veterans, some guys that have been around the block and played in other countries in big games. So I think that's the difference with this team this season.
David, how can people get out there and support our KW Titans? Game 1 tonight, Game 2 on Sunday afternoon.
So it's best of 5. So we're here tonight at 7 and 3 o'clock on Sunday. It's going to be a special day on Sunday because my entire high school group of friends is coming. But there's still lots of tickets left. Here's what I'd love. I'd love Matt Hutchison to mention the Titans in the broadcast because he missed us. He's talking about the Rangers, but I'd love him to mention that in the broadcast. And there's some great tickets available. Right, so we need everybody coming out tonight that can, and Sunday is going to be a super big day. That could be our last regular season home game. Game 5 is, if needed, is scheduled for the 29th, but I'm hoping we don't need to come anywhere close to Game 5.
I like what you're thinking, if needed. So Sunday might be the last home game for the Titans. They take on the Sudbury 5, the Basketball Super League Championship. Opens tonight at the Odd. Get your tickets at kwtitans.com or at the door when you show up. David, Coach Cliff, go get them tonight, and thanks for joining the show this morning.
All right, Mike, thanks for having us.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Mike. And you know what? We put up a couple more Farwell for hires this week, right, in the real estate business. I'm in Elmira right now, just ready to show my favorite clients, Larry and Wendy, a house. So, let's get all down to business, and we will see everybody tonight at 7. Okay.
You got it. Thanks, David. Thanks, Coach Cliff. Cliff Clinkscales, the coach of the KW Titans. David Schooley, the co-owner of the club. The KW Titans open the Basketball Super League final tonight, 7 o'clock at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. David mentioned Farwell for Hire signs. He helps out with my fundraiser. I've got some news about that to share before 11:30 this morning as well. It's a busy show for busy people. The Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. Not only do I have an opinion, I like to hear other opinions. That's what this show is all about. We have some conversations. We learn a thing or two from one another. And right now we're going to talk about a proposal for a 40-story tower in the Preston part of Cambridge. You heard that right, 40 stories right near the corner of King and Eagle, which would be very near to, almost right across the street from, a proposed transit hub when Light Rail Phase 2 gets into Cambridge. But 40 stories. You're going to have a chance to have your say on this at Cambridge Council coming up on May the 5th. Right now, we are joined by Cambridge City Councillor for Ward 6, Adam Cooper, to talk more about it. Adam, good morning. Oops, I'm not hearing Adam at all. Am I missing something here? Adam, are you with us? I'm still not getting him here, Devin. I think you got him on line B. Does that change anything on your board back there, Dev?
I'm here.
Adam, are you there with us?
I am here, yes. Do you have me yet?
I do, sir. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the little glitch.
Okay, let's start this again. How you doing, Mike? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Getting ready for the weekend.
Excellent. Let's talk about this proposal for a 40-story tower near King and Eagle in the Preston part of Cambridge. Initially, what's your reaction to a proposal for a building of that size?
Doesn't really come as much of a surprise. During the meeting where this came up, I mean, I did speak to this. I basically warned that we had a lot of developers in there that are from Cambridge, and we would potentially trust to value the heritage of our downtown areas. But I said, we don't know what developers are going to come in and do something like this, and we need to protect these heritage buildings that are part of our culture, part of our past, and protect what we want the city to be. And it was a textbook case of why we need to protect some of these beautiful heritage buildings. I mean, as soon as literally within just a few days of the designation failing, staff received an application for a 40-story tower that would demolish this building. It's this area is inside what's called a major transit station area, which means that they believe if it does come that the LRT would be close to it. So it's an area where developers, they actually don't have any requirement for parking whatsoever. So it's very appealing to developers. So this was not a surprise. We've seen it happen just a stone's throw from it over at King and Fountain with the two large developments. I mean, there's multiple towers. I think we're talking about 7 or 8 towers that are going up. Some are being built now, and this would be right next to that. So I was quite aware that something was like this was likely to happen, and it's going to continue to happen unless we can, decide what we want this city to be and decide whether we want to protect these heritage buildings or not.
On the heritage front, Adam, then, just so folks understand, this proposed 40-story tower would lead to the demolition of 3 buildings along King Street near Eagle, one of them being at 210 King, which I believe is that white stone building that was the Argyle Arms. Is that right?
Yes. It's
okay.
What is, I'm actually not sure what it's used for now. I don't know if it still is the Argyle Arms, but that's how most people would know it, yes.
Yes. Okay. And so that was the building that you had hoped to have a heritage designation attached to, which would have prevented its demolition.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But as I understand it, the owner of that property currently did not want the heritage designation, hence council's decision, although not unanimous, but council decided to not slap the heritage tag on it.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's quite obvious now why they opposed it. I mean, there was, they're obviously, I believe they were standing in the wings with this plan, and it takes a while to put those plans together. And suddenly they pop that out. So obviously they're going to be against it. And this happens sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation that's spread about what it means to be designated. And we've seen a lot of that in the media recently. And I see all sides of it. I mean, this was an important heritage commercial building on a main strip. I wouldn't be so eager to jump to designate, say, residential homes, especially ones that weren't so visible. Then obviously you maybe going to put a lot more weight into what the owners want. But then there has to be a lot of balance. Because, I mean, let's just say you swing completely that way to saying, every property owner needs to absolutely approve. And when people, spread misinformation about what it means to be designated, then all of a sudden we just completely lose heritage. Absolutely everything is up. All the heritage, the charm of the city is up for pillaging by developers. So there needs to be a balance. We do have a responsibility to protect the heritage of the city, as do any municipality.
What responsibility do we have as city councils in the midst of this housing crisis, Adam, to get as much housing built as we possibly can? And 40 stories would obviously house a lot of people. How do you balance that with this desire to protect heritage?
We balance that with there's plenty of places that these towers can be, but we're not opposed to that at all. I mean, there was a development that was on Main Street. I guess this would be, let me think, East Main Street. If you know Cambridge well, kind of you're heading out almost towards Guelph, just on the edge of Cambridge near Zayas. There was a developer there that we were encouraging them because of where it was. It wasn't in any heritage place. There was no immediate, small houses nearby by, neighbors that would be annoyed. It was appropriate. And we encouraged them. We really wanted them to go up. It's not about not having tall buildings, not having housing. Everybody wants housing. It's about putting it in the appropriate areas. And basically, it's about growth with a vision. I mean, that's what I mean. I personally and I have many people at staff that shares, I have a vision for Cambridge. I mean, we have all the ingredients to be spoken of in the same breath along places like Niagara-on-the-Lake, Elora, Collingwood, Stratford. And these are communities that have preserved their historic cores, and they've become powerful drivers of tourism, local business growth, civic pride. It's not a hindrance. It can be a cornerstone of what those cities are. I mean, the cities I've just listed, some of those are some of the most beautiful cities in Ontario. And we had a consultant, external consultant, come in during the same meeting and state that we absolutely can have that. I mean, he hasn't seen a place like it. We can have that. We just have to have that vision. So we're going to grow, but we need to know what we want to grow into and do it with that vision and work with the developers. And there's plenty of places to put these. But when we see stuff go up like this, and it can set a precedent saying there's going to be towers going up in the middle of these areas that we want to enhance for tourism, then of course it makes us worried. Again, we don't want to grow for growth's sake. We want to growth with a vision. And I have a vision. I'm trying to follow that vision.
And what is that vision that you have? Like, where would these taller buildings go in your vision?
They would be going these places, basically anywhere that's not going to destroy what we consider our heritage, our charm, something that would bring tourism. And when I talk about a vision, it's, again, state places like Niagara-on-the-Lake, Stratford, Collingwood, Elora, where they have such an expansive tourism on the weekends, and we can have that. And it also doesn't mean that this is not about not growing. I mean, if let's say this had passed, and we got the designation, then that wouldn't stop them from building there. It would just require them to incorporate the building and do something that fits in with that heritage. And there are numerous places where we see that happen. I mean, there's about 20 heritage districts in Toronto, and they have become some of the most beautiful and sought after areas for people to live. So it's not about stopping growth. It's about having it fit in with the existing charm that's there and the beauty and the heritage and what made us who we are, and what made people come to the city in the first place, and maintaining that and growing along with it. It's not about stopping growth.
Where does this proposal stand at this point, Adam? I know it's just that right now, a proposal. Staff is looking at it. Council is obviously having discussions. Where does this proposal stand?
Well, they've got the complete application in. Meaning that they've, the people that have submitted the application have kind of, dotted their I's, crossed their T's, everything's there. And staff will look at it, and they will decide whether it's something that they want to, the staff always comes with a recommendation. Doesn't mean we have to follow it, but they will come with a recommendation and a big report about what the developer wants to do. And, it's up to council to say whether we approve of that and accept it, or whether we reject it. But this is a good opportunity to get across what something that can be frustrating for councillors and staff is that while we have the opportunity to approve and reject, it doesn't necessarily mean at all that we have the power to absolutely reject it, because in many cases, for example, this tower, if we were to reject it, if we said it was too tall, which may very well happen, the developer will appeal it to the OLT, the Ontario Land Tribunal, and they may very well win. They do win a lot of the time. So
more than 90% of the time, if I'm not mistaken.
It's about 97% of the time. A lot of it depends on staff recommendations. You are far more likely to win if staff does not recommend the building for various reasons, the things that they look at. So that's really one of the biggest influencing factors in this, is whether staff recommends or does not recommend. And that's what's coming, but it's going to be contentious. There's a lot of people that are very much objecting to what they're seeing going on in this area of Cambridge. And related to that is also the traffic, the buildings that are going up at Preston Springs that got approved by the OLT, even though we rejected it, and I think it's 4 or 5 towers that are right next to it, kitty corner. The OLT actually admitted in their when they approved the one at the old Preston Springs, they admitted that traffic in this area is going to be a problem, but they were okay with it. And this building would be on top of that. So the residents in this area, and ourselves, we have a right to be concerned with what's going on there, because this is just the beginning of setting a precedence across Cambridge.
Forgive me, Adam, but traffic in that area is already a problem. King and Fountain into Eagle, it's a mess.
Exactly.
It's a mess.
You're proving my point now. Wait till those extra 7 or 8 towers open up, and then this one.
And I think of that, and you'll remember as well as I'm sure, that when Preston Springs, the hotel itself, stood, what a majestic feature that was of the core of Preston. And now that is going to be replaced by towers, and immediately kitty corner to that, as you've said, will be more towers that are already approved and being built, and then we add this one to it, and what a different view one will have of that part of Cambridge.
Oh, exactly. I mean, that's why we're very concerned about what happened to Preston Springs. That was a perfect and very sad example of demolition by neglect. I can't remember exactly where we are in the process of that, but we're trying to avoid something like that happening again, where vacant buildings are not left to just sit and fall apart, and then suddenly there's no option to get rid of it. Because it's for those that never saw the Preston Springs, it's sad that we lost that. And there were other beautiful heritage buildings on the other kitty corner too. So, but yes, like I said, I have a bit of a vision for Cambridge of what we could become to revitalize our downtown area, especially downtown Gulch. I think Hesper can do it. Like I said, I'll reiterate, we have all the ingredients to be spoken of in the same breath as some of the most beautiful cities in Ontario: Niagara-on-the-Lake, Elora, Paris, Collingwood, Stratford. I'd like to see us become that. We have all the ingredients, so let's do it. But it's not going to happen if those places where we expect the tourism to go are overshadowed by 30, 40-story towers that do not take in consideration the beauty and heritage. They just slowly erode at it. And that's what I have, is growth with a vision. And I'm hoping we can follow that. And I'll do what I can to keep going down that path.
Appreciate the conversation this morning. Adam, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much, Mike. You have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye now. Adam Cooper is the councillor for Ward 6 in Cambridge. Makes it pretty clear what he thinks the opportunity is for Cambridge when it comes to some of those other beautiful communities that we travel to just to spend our tourism dollars, right? Collingwood, Niagara-on-the-Lake, Elora, Stratford, etc. I have to admit, as much as we need housing, and as much as I understand that we are in this area of Ontario that's been designated for a long time, this goes back to the Dalton McGuinty days in Ontario, okay? So don't just blame Doug Ford. You can blame him for lots of things, but this is provincial legislation, places to grow. We live in a place to grow. And I've long liked that, right? We're vibrant. We're a place that is desirable to people and to businesses, etc. There's always something going on around here. But I confess to being rather unenthused by tall condominium towers, which I see popping up all over the ding-dang place. And I have a special affinity for that particular part of Cambridge, that part of King Street going right past Riverside Park, and then if you're driving into Sean's Hell, don't even get me started, and the mess of traffic that is King and Fountain in Cambridge. But you're heading in, you got Riverside Park on your right, and then this 40-story tower will spring up, or pardon me, Riverside Park will be on your left, and then this 40-story tower will spring up on your right, after you have already passed the towers that are replacing the once majestic Preston Springs Hotel and the towers that are going up across the street from that. It doesn't excite me a whole lot, but maybe it excites you more. Maybe you're like, Farwell, housing. It's about the housing, stupid. I'm open for the conversation. I love hearing different thoughts about how we are growing and what we are doing. And if you've got any of those thoughts you'd like to share, our phone lines are always open to you on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio.
There's about 20 heritage districts in Toronto, and they have become some of the most beautiful and sought-after areas for people to live. So, it's not about stopping growth. It's about having it fit in with the existing charm that's there and the beauty and the heritage and what made us who we are and what made people come to the city in the first place, and maintaining that and growing along with it. It's not about stopping growth.
It is an interesting conversation, and these are the crossroads we arrive at when we are in a place to grow. That's Ward 6 Councillor for Cambridge, Adam Cooper, who joins us to talk about the proposed 40-story tower for King Street in the Preston area of Cambridge near Eagle. That is a major transit corridor. There will be, should phase 2 of light rail transit be completed, there will be a major transit station right at King and Eagle. So you can understand the argument in support of such a tower in a location like that. In this particular case, there was a very narrow vote at Cambridge Council where there was an attempt or an effort to designate one of the buildings that would be demolished to make way for this tower as a heritage building. But the property owner did not want that designation. And just days after council voted against applying the designation to the property, against the property owner's wishes, this proposal came forward. It's not a done deal yet. You'll get a chance to have your say at Cambridge Council on May the 5th. I suspect it will be a well-attended meeting. And as Councillor Cooper said, if council votes against this, it can be taken to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which almost always votes in favor of the developers. It's an interesting time. Do we keep growing up at all costs? Is there any area here that we could look at as protecting the heritage, the charm of the original community? These are tough things. Robert is with us on the phone this morning. Good morning, Robert.
Oh, hey. Yeah, one thing the fellow said is like, we want to make Cambridge, got to remember why you wanted to move to Cambridge or something like that. And the reason why I moved here is because it felt like a small town, but it had the conveniences of the city. And it really feels like we're not moving in that direction anymore. I am someone that doesn't like big city feel. Like I loathe going to Toronto. And it feels like this area just wants to be like Toronto Junior now with all these towers and everything. Honestly, my wife and I would move now, but we're letting our son finish high school. So 2 more years and then we're done. Like we just don't like it here anymore.
Robert, appreciate the call and the honesty. And I hear you. I do. I loathe the trip into Toronto. And I do feel as though we are becoming very much like that city. Not exactly like it, but very much like it, with all the towers, all the traffic, all the big city problems. We're a big place, but I get it. You might have, for somebody like me who grew up here and I've watched it change around me, it certainly doesn't feel the same. And in Robert's example, came here to get away from bigger city centers. It felt smaller. It had more of those smaller town feels that he and his family liked, and they seem to be disappearing. All right. I'm right up against the clock, so I won't be able to share Farwell for Hire news right at this moment, but I promised just past noon I will share that with you. But I have to get you right now to the 570 News Center for an update. And then it is a game day, baby, a playoff game day. And we'll get your playoff game preview with Josh Piercy coming up. We're in the Sioux to take on the Hounds tonight with our Kitchener Rangers. We'll talk about it next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. It is the sound that you know oh so well from back at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. The sound you hear, the music you hear when the Kitchener Rangers score a goal. They scored 4 goals in their last playoff game on Tuesday night. That game was played up here in Sault Ste. Marie. And those 4 goals for the Rangers were enough to beat the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds 4-3. And now some way, somehow, the Kitchener Rangers have a 3-0 series lead in this Western Conference semifinal. Yes, they could wrap it up tonight. Josh Piercy, color commentator on our Rangers broadcasts, joins me here for a little playoff game day preview. Let me bring you behind the curtain since this is an audio only part of the show. We're here in our hotel in Sault Ste. Marie. We'll brag about that in a moment. Listen, Josh even mentioned early this morning, I'm all buttoned down and ready to go. This guy looks like a hockey player getting interviewed at intermission. He's got a towel around his neck. He's got his shorts on, his ball cap's on backwards, just finished a nice workout. He doesn't smell at all. Don't worry about it. Like, this is fine as we sit here and share space. You're good, buddy.
This room is really starting to get a little ripe now that we're in our what is this, day 4?
I've lost track. What day of the week is it?
I know. We called it during round 1. We called ourselves cellmates. I think that we've got another sentence, but this time it's on a lighter security prison because this Quattro here in Sault Ste. Marie, quite beautiful. But you're right. I was down in the gym there the other day, and a couple of the players and a couple of the coaches were working out. So it was really it was a pressure experience for me. And they don't think radio guys can move weight. And when I picked up those 10s, they knew.
I was going to say, did you throw around more iron? You gotta up your game then.
You gotta try to up your game as much as you can.
This place that we have here, it's like Paul Bernardo now. Like, that's how minimum the security is for us. I probably shouldn't make those bad jokes while we're talking hockey, but I don't know what we did to deserve this. True story. When we walked into our room on Monday night, I said to JP, I'm like, can you just look at the key holder that we got? Does it actually have our names on it? Because I think we got UC Ahokas's hotel room. We are living the dream here at the Quattro in the Sioux.
Yeah, last time we got on the mic like this at the hotel in Saginaw, I think I was sitting on a shoe rack, or maybe it was a clothes dryer, but now it's a beautiful kitchenette, and we are... this is the show HL. We're living the lap of luxury right now.
We certainly are. The kitchenette, the sofa, the armchair, a couple of beds on the other side. It's pretty nice. Don't tell Rangers head coach UC Ahokas that we got his room for this trip. Okay, down to business. We are, of course, here on the road. Game 4 tonight. Josh, did you think that we would be here? And by here, I don't mean here in the Sioux. We actually, so far, we're 2 for 2. When before the playoffs began, we said, what our playoff run could look like. It could go Saginaw, Sault Ste. Marie, Flint, maybe not Flint anymore, but we kind of expected to be playing the Sioux at some point. But did you expect to be here? And by that, I mean up 3-0 in this series with the chance to close it out in the minimum tonight.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't. Now that we're in this position, Mike, and we're ready to watch a game 4, which is potentially decisive. I'm looking back on it, not super surprised, especially considering the way that the first 3 games in this series have gone. But I think if you would have told me before the series started that we could be watching the Rangers up 3-0 at this point, I would have been a little bit surprised. I would have definitely taken that result, but been this Sioux Greyhounds team is very good, and they've put in a very good shift over this series. It's just these little things that these Kitchener Rangers have dialed in, and little things that are big things. It's the work ethic that these guys have. It's the belief they have in the systems that they're playing right now and the way that their coaches have been playing. This was always going to be a tight series, decided by fine margins, and this Kitchener Rangers team lives within those margins, and they practice those things day in, day out. So I'm surprised that the results have gone the way they have, when you zoom out far, but when you look in closer at this, I think you'd think that the Rangers are right where they should be.
So you've been with this team now for 68 regular season games, 7 playoff games for a total of 75. How did they get here?
I think, how did they get here specifically? Obviously, you have to go back to that December, January point in the season. The Rangers were playing very well through the first half and getting a lot out of a group where maybe that were considered middle of the pack in terms of talent. And then you bring in the likes of Dylan Edwards, who had a hat trick. He's got 5 in his last 2 games. Sam O'Reilly, who had a hat trick a couple of games ago and who's played great hockey. Jared Woolley, Gabe Sherratt, who I think has been a little bit underrated so far in these playoffs. He's having a great couple of performances, especially here in the Sioux. I've liked the way that he has played. And then Matthew Andonovski coming back to the team. It's added that little bit of star power, and it's added the mentality that I think has spread throughout the rest of the locker room. And what that is just it's a vicious hunger to win and to do the right things and to play the right way. And obviously that's reinforced by these coaches and this coaching staff and by this organization as a whole. Everybody wants to win in the Rangers organization right now, from the general manager to the coaches, to the players, to the training staff, the concession stand people back at the odd, the folks who are out there helping you park your car. I think they all have a belief in this team. And that stuff is ingrained well into this organization right now. And it sounds a little bit vague, a little bit broad, that it's just a belief that's pushing this team through, but I do think that's a big part of it.
You mentioned Jared Woolley's name, one of the acquisitions, of course, and it's hard to mention Woolley's name without, in the same breath, mentioning Matt Andonovski, who, of course, has always been a Ranger his junior career, but got returned from the American Hockey League's Belleville Senators just around the trade deadline as well. And it's been Matt Andonovski's job in this series to keep Brady Martin under control. Brady Martin scored his first goal of this series on Tuesday night in the Sioux loss. But I think when you look at the top four in particular, and probably even just go down all six, but the top 4D for the Rangers, Andonovski and Woolley, then you've got Reed and Campbell. Alexander Bilecki is having himself a coming out party, if you ask me, in these playoffs, and put Max Diracolo with him. There's your 6D. I don't know. You're getting much better than that. And I think I'm fairly comfortable in saying Diracolo may well be replaced tonight with the return of Andrew McNeil. He's been looking pretty hungry around here these last few days. We'll see what happens with the lineup. But defensively, and in particular, Andonovski shutting down Brady Martin has been a real key to the Rangers' success here.
Yeah, listen, I saw McNeil at the gym in that little session we had there yesterday. And
around the 10s too?
The iceberg from Coburg is looking thick and strong and ready. But yeah, I think that, especially in today's hockey world where, especially with the younger guys, younger defensemen, a lot of the focus, especially for the guys who want to get drafted and want to move on to the next levels of hockey, the focus now is you want to have good skating defensemen who look up and can find shooting lanes and passing lanes and think offense first a lot of the time. So in that hockey world, to see a pairing like Andonovski and Woolley, who is 100% shut down first, beat you into the ground first, play hard defense first. It's really, really, it's a good thing to see that style of play is still alive and well in hockey. And you go further down that list, Carson Campbell's that same kind of mentality, but Cameron Reed and Alexander Bilecki are two of the more creative and better skating defensemen in this league. And Cameron Reed, I think, isn't really getting as many flowers as maybe he deserves for the way that he's playing through these playoffs. He's stepped up his game considerably, and that's part of the reason why those Nashville Predators are so high on him. They're not only high on the guy who he's playing against in this series, Brady Martin. They're very excited about Reed's future, and Max Diracolo as well. He's having a great series. He's stepped up exactly when he's needed to, and he has not looked out of place at all in one of the best defensive six in the league.
Diracolo had himself an invite to a pro camp with the Detroit Red Wings last offseason. The way he's going, he may well get himself another one of those invites. It's a big game 4 tonight here in the Sioux. They say the fourth game of a series is the toughest one to win. What will it take for the Rangers to do that? We'll talk about it as we continue our playoff game day preview with Josh Piercy here on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. This is 570 News Radio. It is the remote broadcast from Sault Ste. Marie. I am sure of the city that we are in. I'm not so sure of the day of the week. It feels like a long time on the road, but we're coming home after the game tonight. And I'll let you in on this little tidbit. We're leaving on a jet plane, baby. We're going to hop aboard a bird and come home, because if the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds can be successful tonight, we have game 5 right away tomorrow in Kitchener. I don't even want to think about that. I want to be selfish and say, hey, Rangers, would you do me a favor here? We'll get to more of that and what the Rangers need to do to withstand what will absolutely be the best they've seen from these Greyhounds in this series coming up tonight as Josh Piercy joins us for the Rangers playoff game day preview. The Rangers on the brink of a sweep. One team has already swept its way through this second round. That was the Brantford Bulldogs. They eliminated the North Bay Battalion last night, 5-3, taking that series in 4. They had to play last night because they got flooded out. There was too much flooding in North Bay on Tuesday. They had to postpone the game for safety reasons. Windsor leads Flint 3-0. Their fourth game is tonight in Flint. And the Ottawa 67s got onto the board, if you will, at least games-wise, on home ice. They were down 2-0 to Barrie. Ottawa won game 3, so it's still 2-1 for the Colts with game 4 in that series tonight, and the 67s looking to draw even. But on the whole, Josh, what are your thoughts of the second round so far?
Yeah, it's been a little bit like the first, and surprising again. You know, I think that the Brantford North Bay series you probably always thought was going to go 4 games, and North Bay they were in it for one, that being the first game back in North Bay in that series, but and then they hung in it in game 4 too, as a matter of fact. But you kind of always thought that the Bulldogs would just be too much, but. Yeah, I mean, that Barrie-Ottawa series, I think, is really enticing. I think that Ottawa could definitely take Game 4, also in the nation's capital, but did not expect Windsor to be up 3-0 on Flint. The way that they play and the way they play specifically at the Dort at home has been really good all season. So to see them lose Game 3 at home and lose in the way that they did, I thought was pretty surprising, especially after. Well, here's the thing: maybe they just didn't get tested in round 1.
I think that's a big part of it. Yeah, like they absolutely obliterated the Owen Sound attack, outscoring them 35-3 in the series. So they were probably feeling pretty good about themselves, and maybe realized too late that the Windsor Spitfires are certainly not the Owen Sound attack.
Yeah, and if Windsor is able to win in Game 4, and if Kitchener is able to win in Game 4, I'm sure that we won't see the same thing, a team not being ready, because throughout this series with the Sioux, these guys have put everything into it, and it's not been a blowout series where the Rangers have a 3-0 lead. It's been really, really close. It's been really, really tight. And this will have sharpened the Rangers significantly in preparation for whatever series are to come. And you said it, Mike. Win tonight would be ever so nice for those softer radio broadcasters like you and I.
Plenty of time to talk about it, but just getting selfish again for a moment and thinking ahead. The prospect of a Kitchener-Windsor playoff series is a rather tantalizing one. That would be third time in 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, the teams would meet one another. And last year, of course, the Rangers pulled off the reverse sweep in the postseason, down 3-0 to Windsor, and came all the way back to win it in 7. I would love to see another series between those two.
Yeah, you'd almost be scared of Windsor because there's a lot of ghosts in that closet, and there's a lot on the line for that organization when it comes to failing to win over the Kitchener Rangers. And I thought the Rangers throughout the regular season handled the Spitfires pretty well. So it'd be a heck of a series. They've got a heck of a goaltender. They've got some really impressive forwards. They've got a decent D-line. In a lot of ways, they're built pretty similarly. Their special teams are excellent as well over in Windsor. So it'd be a heck of a series. And then, just quickly, you mentioned the Barrie and Ottawa series. Shout out to Dave Cameron, a fellow East Coaster, winning Coach of the Year. And I'm sure, there are plenty of people in Rangers Nation who would have said that maybe you give our guy from Finland 2 in a row. But Dave's one of the greats and one of the nicest guys in the league.
Absolutely. 4 times in 5 years, I think, is what it would turn into between the Rangers and the Spits. I'm going off the top of my head. But the other thing about Windsor, up 3-0 in a series, just imagine if Flint wins Game 4 tonight to stay alive in the series. You got to think that there's just that tiniest kernel of doubt that creeps into this Windsor's mind, thinking, wait a minute, weren't we up 3-0 on a team last year in the playoffs? What happened then?
Yeah, you're right. And throughout the regular season, I think we saw enough from Flint to think that they're capable of a similar comeback. It's just one of those where you got to wince at it and say they couldn't, could they? They couldn't, could they? And then we'll see. Maybe by Monday we'll be writing different headlines. But I suspect that Windsor will probably come out tonight and win, but if they don't, that's going to be squeaky bum time there in Windsor, that's for sure.
UC Ahokas mentioned it to you in your post-game interview after Game 3. The fourth is always the toughest game to win, and that's a well-worn cliche in sport. This Sioux team is a very good team. There hasn't been a lot of margin in any of the games. The Rangers win Game 1 3-1. They get into a shootout in Game 2, score 2 empty netters and win 8-5. And then I thought Tuesday was as good a playoff hockey game as anyone could have expected. The 4,500 plus at the GFL Memorial Gardens were really treated to a well-played game. Unfortunately for them, their home team here in the Sioux came out on the wrong side of it. What do you expect from these Greyhounds tonight, Josh? And what are the Rangers going to have to do if they want to close this thing out in the minimum?
Yeah, well, the Rangers are going to have to avoid winning 4 games in a row, which is not something they are likely to ever do.
You mean losing 4 games in a row?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not something they're likely to ever do as they're set up right now. And the thing for the Sioux is all the gloves are off now. The expectations are gone. They can just go out there and play their game without a whole lot of pressure because nobody expects them to do what they need to do. So it kind of goes both ways with that. If you're a real gamer, if you're a guy like Carter George, if you're a guy like Brady Martin, that's going to maybe make you play a little freer and 5% more intensely. But for guys further down the lineup, and especially those guys in the third and fourth lines who have just really struggled to find their scoring touch all postseason long, I don't know that taking away that pressure adds much to your game. I think it actually might take a little focus off of you, and especially considering how close all 3 of these games have been, it has got to be a grind to try to get yourself up for it again, just to have your heart broken after another really good, well-fought 60 minutes. So if I'm being honest, I kind of expect the Rangers to maybe dominate this game more than they have the past 3. And that's not to say that they haven't played well. It's just been very close games. And for me, I think the win might be out of those sails up here in Sault Ste. Marie.
I think if the Rangers can get the lead early tonight, Josh, it might just break the Greyhounds because they must feel as though they've done everything they need to do and they just can't get through. Every time they scored on Tuesday night, the Rangers would just say, okay, well, we're going to come back and score another goal. So I think the early part of this game, I think if Kitchener can get up by 2 in the first period, this one, I think you could just break the spirit that's left in the Sioux. And I have to just feel quickly a little bit badly for the Greyhounds club. Just imagine being in this situation where if there's a Game 5, both teams are flying out of here tonight. But you've got that plane at the ready. If the Sioux loses, like, do you get a refund? Is there a deposit? Is it a refundable deposit? Like, how do you undo that? Or worse still, again, you got the plane booked. Let's say you win, you go back and you lose and get just guys, save me $30,000. I don't know what it costs for a plane, but you know what I'm saying. I feel bad for them up here.
Mike, in today's world of aviation, I'm going to go ahead and suspect that you do not get a refund,
right?
On that, yeah, it is.
So the Sioux better use it. That should be the owner should go in and give a speech tonight, guys. I got the plane booked. Don't waste it.
Yeah, maybe they go to Cancun. Maybe they pull the NBA card and they're on the beach. But yeah, we will hope for that, and the Sioux obviously will hope for a trip to Kitch tomorrow night.
All right. Josh and I will be on the air at GFL Memorial Gardens here in the Sioux. We walked to the game on Tuesday. We might do it again tonight because we know the way to get there now. We'll get there in shorter time. Either way, we'll be on the air with your Harris Law pregame show at 6:30. Rangers Hounds Game 4 right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. There are some really interesting connections to share with you between these Rangers and these Hounds, playoff history, hockey history, and it bodes very well for Kitchener. I'll get into that as we start the Talk Back Hour next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage outside, or you don't go out Friday night. Jaggedy yak.
Don't talk back.
It is that time of the day where we encourage you to be a part of the show. You are invited to the conversation at all times, but specifically at this time of the day, we open the phone lines so we can hear directly from you during our Talk Back hour. It is the chance for you to weigh in on the issues of the day or share with us something you would like to become the issue of the day. I'm always here for some good conversation, and quite frankly, you never disappoint. Couple of things I want to share with you as we get into this hour together. Thing number one, and I failed earlier because of my poor clock management skills. I wanted to let you know that here we are in mid-April, and that's getting very close to the time that we usually start our Farwell for Hire fundraising campaign. Month of May has traditionally been that campaign because that is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month, and Farwell for Hire is a fundraiser that raises important money for research into a cure for cystic fibrosis. Here's just the straight goods. I'm talking to you today from Sault Ste. Marie, where the Rangers are playing Game 4 against the Greyhounds tonight. It's possible that the Rangers will win this round. They need just one more win, and then they'll have to travel somewhere else for another round. And, you know, if they're successful there, they'll have to travel somewhere else. And if they're successful there, they'll have to travel. You see how this goes? And we were just worried that this Rangers team is good. I don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to say anything I shouldn't say. But just to avoid any possible conflict or complication, we have decided that this year's Farwell for Hire fundraiser will happen in the month of June as opposed to the month of May. Okay? So it's coming. We're going to do it again. It's our 13th annual campaign, but it's happening in June, not May. And I would like to invite you right now. You are personally invited to our launch party on Thursday, June the 4th. Details, just go to Farwell for Hire on Facebook, okay? On your little Facebook, Farwell, the number 4 Hire. You'll find our page there, all of the information, including a link to get your tickets to the launch party on June the 4th. Where is the launch party? Block 3 Brewing in St. Jacobs. Where else? They make the Face for Radio beer in support of our fundraising efforts, you see? So go to Farwell for Hire on Facebook, and please consider joining us at the launch of our 13th annual fundraising campaign for cystic fibrosis research on Thursday, June the 4th. Just thought the safe way to do this would be bumping the campaign to June this year. And yes, there will be another 50-50 raffle. Last year, we gave out more than $120,000, and we would love to do that again. So it's all going to start happening. It's just going to happen in June this year instead of in May. Go to Farwell for Hire on Facebook. Details and the link for tickets to our launch party right there, right now. Something else I wanted to share with you as I'm here in the Soo ahead of a playoff game with our Kitchener Rangers. Today, this 16th of April, just so happens to be the birthday of one Mr. Don Cameron. Don Cameron was born on this day in 1936, so he would have turned 90 today. Here's what makes the day even more special. We lost Don, as you know, in the late spring of 2018, June the 7th, to be exact, after the Rangers' long playoff run that ended right here in Sault Ste. Marie. But the bright side to this, and the really interesting connection to Don and this city that I'm in today, is the very last game that Don Cameron called of the Kitchener Rangers was on April the 29th, 2018. Game 6 between the Rangers and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in Kitchener. The Rangers were down 3-2 in the series. They needed to win to force a Game 7 back in the Soo, and Don Cameron called it for you.
Puck in the Sault Ste. Marie zone. That was cleared weakly, and it almost caught the goaltender off guard. Little more. They scored! Rangers have scored! The game is over. They played them all right. 13-12. The time of the overtime goal.
How do you like that? 13-12 into overtime. Cole Sherwood of the Kitchener Rangers scores the Game 6 winner as described by Don Cameron, the one and only. That was the last game that Don would call for the Rangers. That was the last game the Rangers won that season, and Don would pass later that year. Don Cameron would have been 90 today, and he called a win for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, the last broadcast of his OHL career. I mean, is there something kismetic about this? Karmatic about this? I don't know. How do you like this instead? I'll take you back to 1974, 1975, and the Kitchener Green Shirts are a hockey team you probably remember the name of. And in 74, 75, 51 years ago, they captured the OMHA championship in rather dramatic fashion with a win in overtime. Now, that win back in 75 capped off a dominant era for our Kitchener Green Shirts, who were an absolute powerhouse in the Ontario Minor Hockey Association back then. And really, the Green Shirts were serving as the primary development team for your Kitchener Rangers back in the early to mid 1970s. The winning goal in that championship game in overtime is often cited in local Kitchener hockey history as one of the most memorable goals of the entire decade of the 1970s. And you'll never guess who scored that overtime winning goal for the Kitchener Green Shirts in 74-75 when they beat Sault Ste. Marie in the major midget AAA championship. The winning goal for the Kitchener Green Shirts was scored by none other than Jim Farwell. Yes, that Jim Farwell. My Uncle Jim Farwell. Make of these little tidbits what you will. Jim Farwell scores the overtime winner as the Green Shirts beat the Sault Ste. Marie team in 74-75 to win the midget AAA championship. Don Cameron calls his last game of junior hockey a Rangers win over the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. This is Don Cameron's birthday. We're in the Sioux. I don't know what else to tell you. So I'll just take your calls now on the Talkback Hour. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Dave will start us off. Farwell's Force, member number 47. Good afternoon, Dave.
Good afternoon, Mike. I have a quick note on the issue of the high rise in Preston. First of all, I'm born and raised and spent the early years of my adult life in Teal. Then I moved to Mississauga, and I spent 24 plus years in Mississauga. Now the last 15 years plus in Cambridge. So I know all about growth, and I definitely know about high-rise restrictions because the last 15 years I've observed the city of Cambridge with its constant fights with developers over height restrictions, and witnessed the city of Cambridge losing almost every battle. That's all I have to say. Let's get her done tonight. Have a great day.
Thanks, Dave. Good to hear from you. Appreciate it. We'll hope the Rangers can get it done tonight. And yes, we can fight against the growth, but often the Ontario Land Tribunal rules against us in the cities where we're fighting against the growth. Betty Ann is with us next on Talkback this afternoon. Hello, Betty Ann.
Hi, Mike. I am a Rangers fan through and through of your era. I saw Brian Bellows and Scott Stevens, etc., win the 82 Memorial Cup in Hull. And I'm just calling to say, of course, Don Cameron gets a say in this game tonight, 100%. And then I also want to say that we had the pleasure of sitting beside Andrew Bilecki's grandmother and Alexander Bilecki's grandmother and aunt on Friday night's game, I believe it was. And he is made of good stock. And when he got that slam to the face on Sunday's game or whatever day that was. I've lost complete sight of what day of the week it is. That was not okay. And Bilecki fan forever I am.
I love it. Betty Ann, thanks so much. Let's cheer for those Rangers real loud tonight, okay? Good stuff. And Alexander Bilecki, first of all, he seemed to have absorbed that blow just fine. That was Sunday's game at the end. I remember the Sioux player who did it too. We'll just let that sleeping dog lie. But how about Alexander Bilecki's playoffs, eh? This kid has been something else. He's NHL draft eligible. It was about sometime in round 1, anyway, that I was chatting with a scout before the game who was there to specifically see Alexander Bilecki. I hope he has continued to specifically see Alexander Bilecki because I can think that draft stock is only rising. And I'm with you, Betty Ann. What day is it? It's just another playoff game day. That's what the playoffs do to you. And we've got the Rangers and the Hounds and all kinds of interesting connections between these teams. Don Cameron's birthday. My uncle scoring a game-winning goal for the Kitchener Green Shirts over the Sioux team back in 74-75 to capture the championship. Hey, there's a Farwell who used to work with a Cameron in the Sioux for a game tonight. Come on, karma. Talk Back continues on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. It's our last chance of the week to have these conversations together on the show because I've got a travel day tomorrow. So I won't be on the air. If there's a Rangers game tomorrow night, I will, of course, be back for that. I have to be. I'm here with the team now in the Sioux. I'll be back for a Game 5 if necessary. Game 4 tonight. Pre-game starts at 6:30 right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. But let's engage in some conversation for our final hour together live this week. It's the Talkback Hour. We continue with Cora. Cora, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Yes, I have a comment to make about a store in Kitchener I've never come across. I'm in my late 90s, and I have relatives that buy bird seed and bird wreaths every Christmas for I don't know how long. And this past Christmas, the one wreath, when I went to put it out, it was all mush. It fell apart. So I decided to phone the store and complain, and the gentleman was so polite. I couldn't believe we still have people like that around. And he said, I'm sorry, but he said, I think I know what you're talking about. He said, I put one wreath under the desk and put a note, don't sell, and somebody must have sold it to you. And I said, well, it was my granddaughter or my daughter-in-law that had bought them. So he looked it up, and he said, was this her name, and this is where she lives? I said, yes. He said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll send you a new one tomorrow. And I said, oh, thank you. So my daughter said, well, see how long it takes for it to come. And would you believe that man, I don't know whether he was the salesman, but I'm sure he had to be the owner. Within 24 hours, a car pulled in my driveway in Cambridge here, and the man got out and handed me this bag and brought me a wreath. I just, to this day, I'm shocked to think, and I sure hope people up there will support that store.
Well, Cora, that is a lovely story. And since it's so positive and somebody did such a great job with customer service,
like I say, in this day and age, you're lucky if they snap you off and don't want to listen to you. But it was
that's right. So tell us who they are.
Yeah,
who are
and
they?
I used to work in a store, and I know what it's like with people. But that was outstanding.
What's the name of the store?
It was Birds Unlimited.
Birds Unlimited. Cora, thank you very much for sharing that story today. Great to hear from you. Way to go. Customer service gets an A+, a gold star right there. Talkback continues. Jason is on the line with us. Jason, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike, and I hope you're enjoying the nice weather in the Sioux.
I'm in the Sioux. That's all.
That's about it. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, exactly.
With Mr. Bowman retiring, it sounds like there's an open seat up in the big show. You considered making the jump to the show, Mike, or?
Jason, do you think anybody would consider me in the show? Come on now with your coming on.
Well, I mean, the seat is open. The mic is off. There's always potential, Mike. It's like you Leaf fans say. There's always next season.
Easy. What do you? listen, Jason, on one hand, you're like blowing sunshine up my behind. And on the other hand, then you're going to rag on me as a Leafs fan. Is that how this works?
Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely, Mike. We know you're a Ranger at heart, and you have no intention of leaving us. So.
I appreciate you, friend. Thanks for the call today.
No problem. Thanks, Mike.
Nice to hear from you. We're going to play that Joe Bowen audio again before the end of the hour if you missed it. And he describes it at the beginning as having his dream job, which I think many of us could understand. But Jason was right in that last part that he said, I have my dream job. I grew up in Kitchener. I listened to Don Cameron call games on this radio station. Okay, he was on another radio station for a while too, but I listened to Don Cameron call the games, and I currently am in possession of my dream job. Hockey night in Kitchener is more than enough for this little guy from the old North Ward, okay? I promise you that. Appreciate you, Jason. I think Bowen's kid's going to get the job. That's a whole other story. Let's just continue Talk Back. Ernie is with us on Talk Back today. Good afternoon, Ernie.
Hey, Mike. Just wanted to say that Bowen, I just watched like his last clip on Facebook, and I definitely like, how can you watch that without getting a tear in your eye? You know?
I know. I got the Dust Ninjas were here this morning too when I was listening to it.
I was just like, man, like that guy is such a beauty. And I remember even like for the guys on the radio do the broadcast, like when Jerry Howarth when he retired, when there was a choice of doing yard work, but I wanted to watch the Jays game, I'm like, yeah, but I should get yard work done. But I get to listen to Jerry. So it just seemed like just listening to him call a baseball game on the air, I miss his radio, like baseball voice, where you'd call a Jays game. But Bowen's on the same level, like bar none. Like the guy was such a beauty on the radio. And Mike, you know what? You do a pretty good job yourself. So I'm not going to blow too much smoke up there. Joe Bowen, but you do a good job, So you get us interested and excited when you call the game. So yeah,
that's because I'm excited and interested. That's why,
Well, exactly, right? So just one of those things. I just wanted to bring it up because he's going to be missed for sure.
100%.
And go Rangers. Go Rangers, Mikey.
Love it, Ernie. Great to hear from you, bud. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ernie will never blow too much sunshine up my derriere because he's a Baltimore Ravens fan. And Baltimore Ravens fans and Pittsburgh Steelers fans like me, they don't always get along. But Ernie's a good man. And since he brought up Jerry Howarth, I'm going to do this. Forgive me, but I got to do it. First of all, an incredible talent, an absolute incredible talent. And when I had the opportunity for a bit of my career to work at Sportsnet 590, The Fan in Toronto, Jerry Howarth came by the station one day. And of course, I was completely in awe because it's Jerry Ding Dang Howarth in the same studio, and I'm meeting him for the first time. You know what Jerry Howarth said to me? He said, "Oh, you're the new guy that does the updates on the morning, right?" I said, Yes, Mr. Howarth, I am." He said, "You do a fine job." And he didn't mean it fine like when, your spouse says fine, because then, that's not fine at all. He meant it in like the classic sense, right? You do fine work. And I remember, I wish I could have been recording that, but Jerry Howarth said that. And that meant a lot. That guy was an absolute pro, top to bottom. And Ernie's so right. The soundtrack of our summers with Jerry Howarth, the soundtrack of our winters with Joe Bowen. And Bowen called his final game for the Maple Leafs last night. How do we feel about that? Like, do we feel bad for the guy that he went more than 40 years with one team and never called a championship? Or are you like, sorry, pal, you could have gone to a winner, but you stuck with those losing Leafs? We'll play the audio for you, take more of your calls on Talkback as we continue this afternoon on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. News next at 1 is what Hutch meant to say, just in case you were wondering when the next update would be, which is when we are done with Talkback. But that means we still have almost a full 30 minutes to engage in conversation here on the show. And we've been talking a lot so far on Talkback about the end of an era. For many of us, he's been the soundtrack of our winters for most of our lives. And Joe Bowen called his final game last night as the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And for me, it kind of breaks my heart. I mean, I'm a Leafs fan too, but imagine being with a team for 40 plus years and never getting to a championship with them. But here is a little bit of the final words that Joe Bowen had to say, and keep the tissue handy as you listen.
There we have it.
44 years, 3,834 games, and it comes to an end for me. And I'm going to have to read this again as I did the other night because I know I can't do this off the cuff. But it has been and always will be my dream job as voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. There have been 17 coaches and now 13 general managers who have guided the ship over these many seasons, along with 700 or so players who have pulled on the blue and white jerseys. My first Leaf goal came second period in Chicago Stadium on October 6, 1982. Walt Podubny started a 3-goal comeback for a 3-3 tie. My last goal here tonight, third period, William Nylander's 30th goal of the season. I want to thank my family, my wonderful sons, Liam, Derek, Sean, and David. Working nights and travel meant I was away a lot and missed so many important activities in your lives. I love all of you so much, and I am so very, very proud of all of you as young men, husbands, and fathers. One person so far I have not talked about. I want to conclude my remarks by thanking my broadcast partner for the past 28 years, Jim Ralph. Not sure what to say about this man. Each night I come to a game to watch it with a great friend. He's been like sitting at a bar with your buddy commentating on the game while telling stories and laughing. Always laughing. So many nights we would finish and someone would comment on the broadcast. But it wasn't about this great call or Holy Mackinac, that piece of brilliant analysis. It was always, you guys had me howling over that line in the second period. I can't thank you enough for a wonderful French buddy. I love you. I don't have anything else.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I don't have anything else as the man's in tears working with Jim Ralph for almost 30 years. Joe Bowen's final moments in the broadcast booth with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's continue Talkback. Busy phones today. Jesse is next with us on Talkback this afternoon. Good afternoon, Jesse.
Hi, Mike. You made me follow that, and I've barely got my Kleenex.
That's a tough one, eh? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my goodness. Definitely going to miss the Holy Mackinac.
Me too.
But I was actually calling in to thank you for posting the your behind-the-scenes photo from working in your remote office, because it was very cool to see that you and I use the same mic, the Blue Yeti. Now, mine is for very volunteer stuff, but it's neat to see that I'm using the same stuff as a professional.
Well, let's not get carried away here. I'm just the guy that they hired to do the job. But anyway. Yes, we're using the same
stuff. So
good. Well, I'm glad I could share it with you.
I also wanted to just make an assurance from you that you have no plans to change any door decorations, because Calgary got hit with a foot of snow and they're saying the S word for Sunday, and I don't want you bringing it down on our heads again.
I promise I will try not to, and I'm not changing that door decoration that I have on the studio back at the boardwalk for love nor money. That sunflower is staying.
Okay, awesome. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jesse. You too. Appreciate the call today. And you can always follow the behind the scenes stuff by following our Facebook page. Just look up the Mike Farwell Show on Facebook. I did share a photo of what the quote unquote studio looks like here in the hotel in Sault Ste. Marie. And this morning's show preview video was shot right out front. Traffic roaring by behind me. And yes, there's a huge snowbank there too. Just to give you a little sense of where I'm at and what's going on up here in the Soo. Pat is also with us on Talkback today. Good afternoon, Pat.
Good afternoon, Mike. I'd like to comment on the homeless encampment situation the Waterloo region is trying to take care of.
Sure.
I'm going to preface what I have about to say by saying that my wife and I have a soon-to-be 40-year-old daughter who lives in a tent, who refuses. She has 3 wonderful children as well, 2 in university, 1 in grade 11, who are doing magnificently well. She refuses to have anything to do with an encampment. The main reason being drugs and crime. My daughter started off with a drug problem, and it's since morphed into more of a mental health situation. We see her, a couple times a year out and about, maybe at a bus stop or something, and we stop and chat, and she's very friendly with us, but she just, I think I understand why she's not coming home. I think she feels a lot of guilt about things, and when she mentions that she won't stay in an encampment because of the drug use and the crime that goes on, it makes me wonder regarding that encampment. The efforts, I know by bylaws or whatever, that's one thing. They're spending how many hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers' fees. My suggestion is if you want to offer them a place to live, say, I don't know how many, what do they got, about 30 or so left in there, Mike?
Yeah, I'm not certain of the number, but that would probably be in the vicinity, yeah.
Okay, now, if you offered them $10,000 each, right at the start of all this mess, and say, look, we have a place for you to go. There is $10,000 worth of rehab facility available to you, and because, admittedly, I mean, these folks are not there because they lost their job and can't afford a house. And that's the situation with my own daughter. Offer them that, or, hey, offer them a place in college so they can get some job skills, if indeed it isn't a drug problem. But, if they think of these things early on, and I've been thinking about this all along, but I guess I've been concerned with other things. They're being offered a place to go, and they may not like going to rehab. They may not like, even surely you can get, I know you can get a nice container fixed up for less than $10,000. Could they not be making them an offer like that just to get them out because they are being offered a place to go?
Yeah, listen, Pat, I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate you sharing your story. Out of curiosity, oh, Pat's gone. Okay. I just wanted to ask Pat a little more about his daughter, because one of the things that I've learned about encampments over time is that folks who are living rough or choosing to live with only a tent as shelter tend to congregate to have a sense of community. Although I also understand completely, and we've heard all kinds of concerns around the issues that arise within encampments, with crime, with drug use, with those spaces not being the safest spaces for women. So there's challenges up the wazoo, if you'll forgive that turn of phrase in a conversation like this. And I think, to Pat's points, again, I get it. I'll bet many of us have had similar thoughts about how we could have invested better the money that we have already invested into our efforts to clear the encampment or support the encampment, etc. What I have come to realize is that it just isn't as simple as we wish it would be. But I hear where you're coming from, Pat, and I really do appreciate you sharing that story with us today. Kyle is also with us on Talkback this afternoon. Good afternoon, Kyle.
Am I not allowed to be a little excited for tonight's game yesterday? Was that a little too much?
No, you're never too much, pal. I love the passion.
I was just asking because I never stepped on the logo. I didn't do any of that superstitious stuff. It must be that stuff. I'm just excited. I know sometimes I get a little too much, 200% versus 75%. But I'm very looking forward to the game tonight. I think the guys will play very, very well. And, I hope that they could pull it off because, like I said, the travel for you and the whole team is brutal, up and down to Sault Ste. Marie. And, having a couple of days off would be nice, or, a week off would be nice. But I'm excited to look at the game tonight, Mike. I hope you enjoy it. As always, I love listening to you and Josh Piercy. It's really cool to get your perspective on the game and stuff. And I can't wait. And it was nice last game to hear Antis score. So yeah, I'm excited. But go Rangers, go! I'm looking forward to it, buddy. Thanks a lot, and I'll listen to you tonight at the game. Thanks, bud.
All right, Kyle. Appreciate it. That's a very subdued Kyle today. Avery Anstis, the former Listowel Cyclone. We know that Kyle volunteers with the Sykes in the GOHL loop. And yes, Josh Piercy and I will bring you our very best tonight because this is your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. So where the team goes, we go, and we'll be right there with the team tonight at GFL Memorial Gardens here in the Sioux. Grant is with us on Talkback this afternoon also. Good afternoon, Grant.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm going to touch on three things. Me and my brother had a kind of a disagreement a couple days ago with Matthew Andonovsky. He thinking that, as you already know, he signed a first pro contract, and he doesn't think he's going to be given a second pro contract. And I said, of course he is.
Why don't we wait for the ink to dry on the first one there, Grant? How about that?
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, I'm pretty sure Mike would agree with me. Oh, no. Yeah, he's a homeboy. No, I think he would say either he needs to tidy up this and to be able to get another one. And yeah, do you remember this chap many years ago? He built these small little homes for the homeless people. Now he's passed on, and whoever bought that land.
Yeah, you're talking about Ron Doyle, who used to own Lot 42. That's where a Better Tent City was first established. Ron Doyle was a terrific benefactor in our community, for sure.
And we have not had anybody like him around. And in my opinion, and I told you this at that time, that whoever bought it, in my opinion, was disgraced. Because,
well, no, hang on. No, there's no real ownership of a Better Tent City. This is essentially a volunteer-run organization that's sitting right now on land owned by our public school board. So there's not an owner per se. I guess you can, if you want to be upset with the people that now own Lot 42, that's your right, but it's also their property. So,
well, then they should think, oh, geez, this is for the homeless people.
Not everybody thinks like Ron Doyle thought. That's all.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Okay, so there's two things. I got to get to a commercial break. What's your third?
Okay. Yep. Bye.
Okay. Bye. I thought there were three, but that's okay. I didn't mean to cut off the number, Grant. I just wanted to get to the third one because I got to take this break, and then we'll come back with more calls on Talkback because that's what we do during Talkback. You make the call, we'll have the conversation, whether it's about Ron Doyle, Matt Andonovsky, or Joe Bowen. That's what we do on this show. It's the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. Every day, noon until 1, we open up the phone lines, giving you the chance to have your say on the show. And this is our last chance to do it this week. There will be no live show tomorrow. It's a travel day in this playoff series with the Kitchener Rangers and Sioux Greyhounds. So get in while you can. Right back to the phones we go. Get as many calls as we can into the Talkback Hour. George is with us. Good afternoon, George.
Yes, good afternoon, Mike. How you doing there?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing there?
I'm doing really good. I was going to talk to you tomorrow about this, but I guess you're not in till Monday. I want to talk to you about a guy who's Mike Richards' brother, but I want to save it until you're back on Monday, and then we can talk about Mike Richards' brother. Go, Rangers, go.
Wow, George, that is like what we call a tease in the radio biz. Okay, I'll wait patiently till Monday. Thank you for the call.
I'm not going to say any more, but that's what I'm going to talk to you on Monday, hopefully.
Okay, George, thanks very much. Good to hear from you today. I anxiously await the opportunity to learn more about Mike Richards' brother on Monday during the show. I hope you're as excited as I am. George dropped the hint. We'll learn more on Monday's show. Frank is also with us this afternoon on Talkback. Good afternoon, Frank.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Farwell's Force member 365 was within 4 kilometers of you, just passing the water tower a few minutes ago. Anyways, now I'm sufficiently recovered after you played the Joe Bowen speech. Oh, my goodness. Driving and tearing up while I'm driving a transport truck is something else. But now that I've sufficiently recovered, yeah, my memories basically. So he called his first goal on my 11th birthday, so we'll figure that out. Anyways, because I need to save my karaoke voice for this weekend, I don't want to do it Kyle style, but I want to do a Let's Go Rangers right here in the truck. Let's go Rangers! Have a good weekend, Mike.
Thanks, Frank. Well done with the horn to end off the Let's Go Rangers chant. I don't know that we'll hear many of those in the Sioux tonight, but it's good that we have them here on the show because believe you me, the team appreciates it. And this is like getting the good energy going, right? This is the juju that we need. I have an email from Kathy who writes to Mike at 570news.com. I'm originally from the Sioux, and I want to give a shout out to all of my family and friends there. However, I have converted from a Hounds fan to a full Rangers fan. And there's a fun sibling rivalry between me and my brother. So with that being said, I feel Don Cameron will be with us tonight as we play this very special playoff game. Go Rangers, go. And I'm sorry, Scott, in section 108, but Hounds are going to be out and Kitchener is moving on. Kathy, thank you very much for the email. I love the sibling rivalry. I'll tell you what, I'll go by section 8 and see if I can't find Scott, or 108, and see if I can't find Scott and give him hell, okay? We're all pulling for the Rangers, and I think there are a few things, historically working in our favor. But those Hounds, they're going to be hungry tonight. Shane is now with us on Talk Back this afternoon. Good afternoon, Shane.
Good afternoon, Michael. How are you this afternoon? Sorry, Mike. How are you this afternoon?
Thank you. I'm better now. Thank you.
Listen, you need to respect your elders here. Like, if I call you Michael, I don't mean it as an insult or anything like that.
Yeah, that's fine. You go ahead and you call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Listen, tomorrow why could you not actually do your show tomorrow from the bus? I'm quite sure that a lot of your listeners would like to actually convey their best wishes to the team tomorrow, as well as maybe have conversations with them. Just a thought. I was I don't want to cut you off, Mike. I'm just rolling into town with my tractor trailer. Unfortunately, I can't sound the horn for the Rangers tomorrow, so just go Rangers go, and I'm going to hang up, Mike. Enjoy your day.
All right, Shane, thank you. Listen, full disclosure for you. I can't do the show from the bus on the way home from the Sioux because I'm not going on the bus. I'm going on the plane with the team because Game 5, if it's necessary, is tomorrow night. So both teams are going to fly out of here if there's a need for another game. And I did offer management that, hey, listen, I'll make it work some way, somehow. Especially if we're flying home. I should be home by 2:00 at the latest. I'll get up and get a show done on Friday because we would want to get ready for the big Game 5. But management said, no, you know what? We're going to take it as a travel day. You're going to need a little bit of rest and recovery time. And if there's a Game 5, we want you to be ready for that, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't push the issue. They have very generously said it's a travel day tomorrow. Just take a breath. And so I will tomorrow. But for now, I'm getting psyched for tonight. We got an afternoon to walk around the Sioux. A few of us are going to head out onto the sandy streets and sidewalks of Sault Ste. Marie. You think salt's a bad thing back home, and I get it, but all the sand that used to be providing some traction up here on the roads is just washed up onto the sidewalks. It's not the most pleasant place in many areas, but we're going to get out for a little bit of a walk, and then we're going to be raring to go at 6:30 with your Harris Law pregame show tonight. Josh Piercy and I. Game 4, Rangers and Greyhounds. Can Kitchener get it done in the minimum? Join us tonight to find out. And I'll be back on this show Monday morning at 9. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.